And you see by the dawn's early light was so proudly we hailed at the twilight that's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets singing out, yeah, through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barn Dominion Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Part of the Chief Sports Network. Go Gamecocks!
He'll be fire on the mountain.
Consecutive home runs for Carolina.
It is good. It's gone.
He's in. Touchdown.
Ends with a throw to the plate. He's going to score. It's a walk-off. Touchdown, South Carolina.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the morning show built by the Barn Co. and brought to you by Resto Pros. There when you need them. Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros, MidlandsSC.com, the Barndo Co. I got a guy right now who is on the verge of building one. Isn't that cool? The
Nice.
BarndoCo.com. Oh yeah, man. He's like, yeah, that's what I want right there. And so we're fired up about that. And they make a lot of dreams come true. Head to the BarndoCo.com and you can build your dream home today in the Carolinas or over there in fake beach state of Georgia, Phil, or Tennessee, wherever. The BarndoCo.com. Well, what a weekend. The baseball team was hammered at Arkansas. We'll talk plenty about that with John coming up here in just a little bit. Clearly, I have my own personal thoughts on a lot of it too. The women's basketball program is sweet again. Once again, here they are. They are the best in the business, and they took down Indiana yesterday, and they will advance, but they won't play any more games at the CLA. It was a nice crowd that was able to give them an ovation as they head in pursuit of another national championship. We got John Whittle coming up. We got Alex Jones today. No Mike today. Mike will be here tomorrow and Wednesday, but he will be joining Phil and JC in the show this afternoon. So if you're a Mike Morgan fan, there you go. You'll get your fix on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week in our programming. Softball wins the series against Texas Tech this weekend, and they let it slip away yesterday from getting a sweep, but they did win the series. So congratulations to Ashley and her program. And so we'll get into some of that coming up here in just a little bit. And then, of course, you got the dance, Phil. You got the dance going on. You got the dance. And you know who's really dancing? Me. You want to know why? Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because 99.5% is where I'm at right now.
Oh, nice. Put together a good bracket this year.
That's right.
I got a little too cute, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I was okay. And then until I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, if you are somebody that goes after chalk, like there's some people that just go with chalk every year. This is the year for you.
Yeah, he would have done well. Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, this is the year for you. And I was talking to Bill and Preston about it this morning. They're just like, to summarize the tournament right now. Why do people tune into March Madness? They want to see the unpredictability of this tournament. The average fan, right? Like the crazy basketball fan, maybe not. But most people are searching for the unpredictability of the tournament, right? And there hasn't been a lot of that. I mean, it's been very, very chalkish, if you will.
Yeah, I think some of the ones that at least by the seed line look like upsets weren't necessarily either is also kind of what I'm noticing. I was just just reading Clint's Colorado State thing got me. Yeah, same. Yeah, same. I took Colorado State one more. Of course, at one point lost to Maryland. That one hurt. That one hurt. And then, of course, some well-documented Houston hater.
Yeah.
Of course, the Zags went down by 5 a couple nights ago, so that's all right.
Yeah.
It's fun. You get to now you get to reset your bracket if you want to. You can go in there for the second chance.
Yeah, exactly. So the only two that I missed in the Sweet 16 are playing against one another. I had Missouri and I had St. John's in the Sweet 16. Obviously, Texas Tech and Arkansas are there, right? So, but I got every other Sweet 16 team right. Now, this is where we'll see what my money's worth, because I've got Michigan beating Auburn in the Sweet 16. I've got Purdue beating Houston in the Sweet 16. So, those are the two big ones that, I'll be, coming up this weekend. Like, I've got Michigan and Michigan State in the Elite Eight. And we'll kind of see. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly chalky, but there are some of the more bolder picks on my end in the Sweet 16 coming up here. There's actually, just because, again, the fringe fan, like if they don't see a bunch of the upsets, they think that it just hasn't been that great of a tournament. And, that obviously factors into it. I wouldn't even say that they're wrong, if you're in it for the unpredictability and all that type of stuff. But there have been some great games. There really have. I mean, you think about like Robert Morris giving Bama all they could handle the other. I mean, Oregon and Arizona was a good game. BYU over Wisconsin, 91-89. That was a great game. I mean, there's been a lot of good basketball games in the last few days, Phil, but it just hasn't been heavy with a bunch of wild upsets either. And so, kind of is what it is. I think, though, that now that we're into the Sweet 16, I think you're going to see a bunch of great basketball, like some of those traditional March Madness moments that we're used to. I think we're going to start to see more of those.
Yeah, I would hope so. At least the matchups would indicate that that's what you're going to get, because you've got some really exciting teams here in this Sweet 16 that know how to turn it on and put on a good show.
Mm-hmm. Clint said, "I can't see either of those happening. JB, Purdue is a really weak Sweet 16 team." Might I remind you, I've got 99.5% of my picks correct. 99.5. Okay. So you just stop trash talking until we get to the game plan. All right. You gotta give me 4 days, and then we can come back to this. But anyways, that's where it all stands. 540 points is what I've got out of a possible 580. That's it's not too shabby, I would say.
No. So that was good.
Yeah, not too bad. What wasn't good is what happened in Fayetteville, Arkansas this weekend. South Carolina yesterday with a chance to salvage in Game 3. A couple of big knocks from a couple of veterans, both Will Tippett and Evan Stone. South Carolina set up to take the lead with a runner on second, nobody out. They pop up a bunt and then pop up the next two at bats. That was all she wrote. So, it's it's bad. I mean, it was it is what it is. I mean, they were outscored 35-9 on the weekend. They hit 252 as a group, which honestly in the SEC really isn't actually that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible. But the problem is your opponent hit over 400 in 3 games. I think if anything is indicative of kind of where things are just right now, it would be the fact that your Sunday starter got scratched because he was getting some work done in the bullpen on Saturday, and a home run in batting practice hit him in the head and put him in concussion protocol. I've never heard of that in my entire life.
Yeah.
When I got wind of that yesterday morning, I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, what? I mean, I sure hope Dylan's okay. Obviously, he's in concussion protocol. But I'm sitting here thinking, I don't even know, how do you even begin to summarize some of this? What? So you get Jarvis Evans in there. You knew he was going to be on some sort of a pitch count. He did throw 73 and 3 flat, 5 hits, 2 earned, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. And then they go to, to pitcher. I mean, Marlott. I mean, those guys did their job. But obviously, Sweeney and Garino at the end. Sweeney's against better competition. I don't know what's going on with it. He's just not throwing enough strikes. I mean, he's not getting ahead of hitters. So you got to get ahead of hitters if you want to be able to work at the end of the game. And he hadn't done enough of that. And so they had to go get him. He didn't even record an out. And Garino came in, and he didn't throw it by anybody. Arkansas's lineup is outstanding. They're absolutely outstanding. And this is not in any way, shape, or form, Phil, me making any sort of excuse for South Carolina's staff or their lineup or their pro. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not doing that at all. We can be critical, which we will be, but we can also be fair. And the fact that Arkansas, I mean, they've scored over 10 runs in 5 straight league games. That's hard to do. They're really, 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 really good. And more of that's coming this weekend with Tennessee as well. So South Carolina's going to have to find some answers. I don't know what they're considering, and I'm not going to try to even remotely close to act like I do. And I'm not even going to try to coach this team. This staff has forgotten more baseball than any of us will ever actually know. But you may be, first of all, with Jarvis Evans, he did throw Tuesday, so he didn't have a full week's rest. So we give him a little bit of leniency there. Because he did get in though and start on Sunday, you may see a scenario here that flips him into the weekend rotation. I am concerned about who they're going to pitch tomorrow. I don't know if Eskew can clear concussion protocol that quickly or not, and he can go or what. I'm not sure. We'll talk to John about it here in a minute. But you may also be entering a stage where you need to start to bring the TBA into play on this. And what I mean by that is, I get it. I'm totally with Paul Maneri as far as setting a weekend rotation. This is your role. This is your job. Prepare for your role. Prepare for your job, and let's go. But if you do feel like it is making your team a little bit behind, or putting your team a little bit behind the 8 ball, or a little bit deficient going into weekend series, it may be time to set the Friday night guy and maybe even the Saturday guy. And let's see if we have to use the Sunday guy, and then we'll worry about Sunday when we get there. Because, this is what you don't want to do is take away the best opportunity for your team to win on each particular day. You don't, so what you see what I'm getting at here, like if you're planning to start Jarvis Evans next Sunday, or Dylan Eskew, or whoever it may be, and you happen to have a 4-3 lead in the 6th inning on Friday night against the Vols, and the best matchup you've got is a guy who's planning to start Sunday and he is able to go, you might need to throw him.
Yeah.
And I know that's not ideal. I wouldn't want to do that myself. I'll be honest with you. I think that is not the way to handle a staff. Guys want to know what their role is. But also, if you prepare them for the chance that they might have to get in there and help you win a game for just 2 innings or 3 innings on a Friday night versus 4 or 5 or 6 on a Sunday afternoon, your guys should be willing and able to do that if they're prepared for it. So I don't know. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm not saying it's not the answer. I have no idea. I really don't know what the deal is going to be. But if it's going to be an average at best offense, which right now it is, and you're going to have to really pitch your way to get a few series wins and to grind out some salvageable games and stuff like that, you might have to start looking into that stuff. Maybe they've already looked into it. I have no idea. Just trying to be as informational as we can with our audience here.
Yeah, they're going to make the best decision that they have with the resources they have available. You hate the way that yesterday really hurt again, because you're right there, tie ball game, 8th inning, right? And I don't know. Sweeney came in and I was like, oh, okay, all right. I was unaware of Marlot's pitch count. I was like, I was hoping we'd see him give him one more opportunity. I don't know if that was, planned or not. But I'm with you, JB, in that it's not ideal, but you don't want to let too many slip away. Right,
Mm-hmm.
especially in conference. So you're going to need to do what you have to do to be able to pull a win. And yeah, I'll be eager to see if John has any insight as to what Dylan Eskew's protocol status is, because it would be do you start him tomorrow, or do you start someone else, give him a few innings in the middle of the game there, or maybe close it out if it's a safe opportunity just to get him some pitches in and then put him back into the weekend rotation. But you really hate having to use Evans on Sunday, because he has been doing very well in the midweeks as the starter and has really taken to that role in such a fashion that's giving your offense an opportunity to win these games and have won these games. So
yeah,
you hate that happened. It didn't have a poor outing yesterday. What, 2 earned? His walks, 1 to 3 strikeout to walk ratio. You got a heck of a player there with Jarvis, but just it's got to, screwing up that rotation really kind of puts things in a lurch. And for such a weird way, right? What odd circumstances that? How I saw that and I'm like,
I mean,
of all the things,
that's akin to tripping over the tee on a kickoff. You know,
I mean,
it's
really,
like,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
you know, come on. I mean, I just, yeah, it's, or, you know, you heave a half court shot to head into halftime, see if you can knock one down, and you hit one of your own guys in the head with it. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, man. I mean, how's this stuff? Now, there's supposed to be a spotter out there for what it's worth. So whoever the spotter wasn't doing his job.
Yeah, somebody is at fault here, right? Yeah, because you know somebody's supposed to be watching.
Oh, somebody got chewed on that. I can guarantee you. I mean, you have a spotter. I mean, there's spotters. You know, hey, we got a ball coming in here. But anyways, all right. It's 10:19. We need to hit a timeout. Tony Pope State Farm presents hour one of Inside the Gamecocks The Morning Show. TonyPope.com. TonyPope.com. Insurance in Georgia and in South Carolina. John Whittle is up next here on ITG The Morning Show.
Oh man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
Happy New Year from the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Ethan Petrie from Land O'Lakes, Florida. Go Cox.
It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air for me. Get inside. If the weather's fine and you got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning.
It is 10:22. Welcome back. Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show built by the Barndo Co. and brought to you by Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. How's your bracket, John?
Oh, I don't think it's very good. I did end up filling one out about 30 minutes before tip-off on Thursday. I think, let's see. I lost St. John's. That's the only Elite Eight team that I've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Got all my Final Four teams still in there, so that's okay. That's okay. I'm not gonna lie. I did go a fair amount of chalk this year, more so than usual, and that ended up being the right play. So I'm doing okay overall.
I'm with you. I'm at 99.5%. And St. John's is the only team that I lost. Now I lost that entire Sweet 16 matchup. I had St. John's and Missouri playing, and St. John's going to take on the Gators in the Elite Eight. But Texas Tech and Arkansas are the only two I missed. I got every other Sweet 16 team right. So clearly, all my Elite Eight teams are still in there. And I'm with you, John. I went. I would say, I mean, obviously to this point, pretty chalky, and beyond the Sweet 16. It's fairly chalky with the exception of two. I got Michigan upsetting Auburn, and I've got Purdue upsetting Houston.
See, I had Purdue losing in the first round, and High Point wasn't that far off. Now High Point gave them a game.
Mm-hmm.
I had High Point versus McNeese State in the round of 32, so I wasn't too far off there.
Well, Purdue is, gosh, you can. Purdue, I don't know, maybe Purdue and Maryland. If you're going by seeds, they've had maybe the easiest road, if you will, McNeese and High Point for the Boilermakers. I mean, it gets real now with Houston, obviously. Maryland had to go through Grand Canyon, and of course they had to have a buzzer beater to beat Colorado State, which was that weird. I was talking to Bill and Preston about this morning when you summarize the tournament, and Bill was like, "Yo, I thought we've seen great basketball," and he's not wrong. I actually agree with that. I think there's been a bunch of great basketball, but the fringe fan turns into March Madness for the unpredictability of it, right? And you haven't had the 14s over the 3s and the 15s over the 2s and you've certainly had some upsets, but it hasn't been widespread. There hasn't been a ton of buzzer beaters and crazy things like that. I do think, though, entering the Sweet 16 now with like the best teams in the country still playing, John, I think we'll probably be in for quite the weekend here in a couple of days.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. We always figure out a way for the tournament to impress us, and it may not be a whole slew of upsets this year, but in the end, we're basically always like, okay, yeah, that was pretty damn fun for the month. So something will happen to where everybody will be on the edge of their seats.
7 SEC teams are in the Sweet 16. 7. It's the most ever. I think that's a great. I know that 7 also lost, and I get that. And those that hate the SEC, they're going to point that out. But 7 are also in the Sweet 16. I think it's played out exactly like I thought it would. There'd be some teams that would fall because it's the tournament, and then the better teams in the league would win, and then maybe 1 or 2 of the hotter teams would win, and that's Arkansas. Arkansas right now is kind of on a roll, and the rest of them are just all really damn good.
Yeah, and it's a pretty impressive number to get that many teams through. You look back, and the record that was broken was the ACC when they got 6, and I believe they had seven teams in the tournament that year. So, which is more impressive? Honestly, I probably lean towards that ACC mark, but at the same time, it's like the league was so good all throughout the year, and to have 7 of the teams in the Sweet 16, that really shows, the depth of the league and how good it was. Because, like you said, there were a few upsets, and then there's some teams out there who are really showing what the SEC is made of. But a couple of these teams have played some pretty tight games too. So, maybe a couple of those ones look a little bit more vulnerable than others from the SEC. But it's been. I've enjoyed watching the league play in this tournament.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I've got the Gators winning the whole thing, like a lot of people in the country. So, 5 SEC teams lost in the first round, 1 lost in the first 4, and then A&M lost in the second round. For anybody wondering, the teams that are out where they went, that's where they went. John, that's the fun stuff. Now to the not so fun stuff. 35-9, Gamecocks outscored in Fayetteville this weekend, outmatched, outmanned, out everything. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, this is not in any way, shape, or form to come off as anything that nears any sort of excuse. But Arkansas is really, really good. Their offense, I would say if there is a question mark with the Hogs, like can they win at all type question, it would probably be with the starting pitching. I'm not saying that it's bad or weak, but compared to years past, I would say that would probably be the one thing that you would look at and say, I don't know. But all those guys are really good too. Offensively, they're just flat out loaded. And Derek made a comment on the air yesterday about the Aloy brothers. He said, all that NIL money they've got, they need to invest in a chiropractor because, I mean, they just take some hacks. All of them do. You got a bunch of veteran hitters in that lineup, John. Tennessee's going to come to town this weekend. Of course, they got something very, very similar to it. But for a team that largely, for the last few years, you look at Arkansas, they play defense, they pitch really well, and offense has kind of been the question. That is not a question mark with this team. Carolina had their hands full, and obviously the Razorbacks proved it.
Yeah, and I think they made a change this past offseason from a hitting coach standpoint, so maybe that has something to do with it. But they brought in a whole slew of new players as well. I mean, their team is like, I mean, they had the number one transfer portal class in the country, and a lot of it is because of talent, but a lot of it is because of the numbers too. I mean, they brought in a crazy amount of transfers, but regardless, they're just better than South Carolina. I think folks are getting really fired up out there, and I understand. But I'm choosing not to get like crazy fired up over what happened this past weekend or what's about to come this coming weekend, because those two teams are just that much more talented than South Carolina. And, should that be the case? No. But is that the case this season? Yes. It comes down to after the season, whether you believe you have the right pieces in place in the right spots to be able to get the program back to competing. But this team's just not going to be competitive with the top end teams in the league. And I won't say can't be competitive. They're not going to win many games against the elite of the elite in the league. They're just not good enough this year to beat Arkansas and Tennessee. And I'll reserve judgment on in like strong emotion when South Carolina's playing teams that it's pretty close to like in talent with. Like, I mean, we talked last week about how disappointing that series against Oklahoma was, and I try not to pull any punches on my thoughts on what happened last weekend after the game against the Sooners. And because that's a game that's a series that South Carolina should be pretty like talent with. And you have them at home and you had them dead to rights and you didn't finish it off because you play so poorly in the back third of the game. But this past weekend against Arkansas, this upcoming weekend against Tennessee, they're just so much better than South Carolina. It's not it to me, it's just not worth being really upset over the results over.
Yeah, Oklahoma did win their series at home this weekend against Mississippi State. They are 20-3 overall and 4-2 in the SEC for what that's worth for fans that are following along with that Sooners team. Yeah, so John, I mentioned something a little while ago, and I wasn't I haven't talked to anybody. This is just, critical thinking when it comes to how you resolve some issues. Clearly, the pitching is right now, I would say mostly questionable at best. They certainly have some guys who are performing at a nice high level, and then they have a lot of guys I think that they expect more out of, and then they have some guys just haven't been very good. What do you think I mean, you had the bizarre incident on Saturday with Eskew getting hit in the head during batting practice. And it goes into concussion protocol. So they have to move Jarvis up, who was scheduled to start tomorrow against the Tar Heels. So you knew he was going to probably be on a pitch count anyways. But looking at not looking past North Carolina, we're going to talk about them in just a second, but looking ahead to the setup of the rotation, do you anticipate they will continue to stay with announcing a 3-man rotation, a weekend rotation, a full weekend rotation? Or do you think that because of some of the challenges that they have had and that they're going to face, that maybe they at least consider the idea of throwing a TBA in there and using a guy where necessary, if needed. Not saying that he wouldn't start on. They might say this is our rotation, but publicly we're going to tell you that it's TBA because we might need to use this guy on Friday or on Saturday. Do you think there's anything like that would or maybe should be considered?
I mean, certainly should be. Certainly should be. I mean, I think to get a little bit ahead of you in your question, I don't think that Dylan Eskew will be ready for tomorrow night because I'm about 95% sure I'm right on this. When you go into concussion protocol, there are certain steps that you have to hit certain days away from when you were diagnosed with a concussion. And I don't think that it's possible for him to have been diagnosed on, even if it was Saturday, he may have been diagnosed on Sunday. I don't think it's possible for him to hit the benchmarks that are required so many days out from being diagnosed with that concussion to be able to pitch on Tuesday. Now, I would hope that he could get back for Friday, and you just go ahead and make that change. Just go ahead and insert him back into that Friday spot into the rotation. And, you know, you have Brandon Stone coming back out of the bullpen where he was obviously better at that time. And then McCoy on Saturday. And then I would go with TBA on Sunday, as you alluded to, with the thought that Jarvis Evans probably goes. But if you need him at another time, then you pitch him at another time, because as I was saying, like, I don't have high expectations for this upcoming weekend on how competitive South Carolina is going to be. But if you're in position to win a game for whatever reason, whether you've had phenomenal pitching and scratched across a couple or what have you, like, you've got to go all out to win that game. That's just the way I see it. So if you need to throw Jarvis Evans on a Friday or a Saturday, then by all means go for it. But I don't know that you want to pitch him certainly in a starting role, but maybe not even in a long relief role before Sunday, because you've already bumped him up a couple of times now, and he's already thrown a ton of pitches. So, you know, I would anticipate either just a couple of innings on Friday or Saturday, or, you know, a close to normal start on Sunday. But I don't think you really need to climb him up much higher than 60 or 70 next Sunday.
Yeah, you know, right. I'm with you there. I hear you. And the Eskew deal, Eskew's a really interesting case study, isn't he, John? Because, you know, the conversation that generally, even if it wasn't how the conversation started, it always turns to the amount of guys that he puts on base via the walk or the HBP. And that is a very important piece of it, because in the SEC, you do that too much, they're going to burn you. There's no question. The other side of this coin, he's given up 4 runs all year, you know, so he has worked through it all. And so we can sit here and bitch and moan and argue about walks and this, that, and the other all we want to. And I'm not saying I'm okay with it. Nobody is, let alone Terry Rooney and Paul Mainieri. That is very frustrating to him. These 4 and 5 inning outings for Dylan Eskew could be 5, 6, and 7 inning outings if he didn't have so many bases on balls. But he has not left one game this year where the team was just getting their rear ends kicked. They've been in position to win every single game that he has pitched in. Clemson, Oklahoma, all of them. So sometimes it's just what you got, you know, and if he's ready to go on Friday night, regardless of how many dudes he's been putting on base, you got to roll the dice with the guy that's giving you a chance to win.
Yeah, and you're right. He's had a little bit of help from the bullpen to get out of some trouble with inherited runners. But you're exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, there haven't been many runs that have crossed against him. But you're also about to start facing some teams that are much more capable of scoring those guys than maybe some of the others they face. So, you know, you're playing with fire. But I agree with your point. And you know, for me, when things are going poorly, I go back to at least what I think I know and what I felt good about, you know, in a specific moment. Like Paul Mainieri felt really good about Dylan Eskew coming into this season.
Right.
And obviously things aren't lining up right, but they won some games back when he was a Friday starter. So, if I'm him and I'm looking to kind of try to reset some things, like that's one thing I kind of look towards is, maybe they need Dylan. Maybe this team needs Dylan on a Friday night to go out there and do what he does. And I don't know that that's a great answer, but it might be the best answer for this team this week. And we'll see how he progresses through this concussion protocol. It's not guaranteed that he hits all his benchmarks. I mean, it may be a more serious concussion than we know about. I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll see if he's even available to go this upcoming weekend at any point. So, it's just not a great situation for South Carolina right now in any sense of the word.
How about the freshman, John? KJ Scobie and Bo Hollins. Bo gets the ball up and out of there yesterday. It was about time, and he's hit a few of them this year that he just had the bad luck of the baseball gods against him. But he got one out of there yesterday. Scobie had 4 or 5 hits, I think, this weekend in the 4 hole, if I'm correct on that, a 3 or 4 hole. Youth can get you in trouble, certainly in the SEC, but these guys, they are impressive. And if that's the future of this team, maybe Gavin Braylon, the future back there behind the plate. I know that people were focused on the here and now, and I get it. I totally get it. But these young guys, they have gone in and done everything they've been asked to do. I tell you what, John, you could probably figure it out better than me. KJ Scobie is an elite third baseman. There is no when they told us that, they weren't lying. I mean, some of these plays that he makes that the common fan just looks at as they should be made every time, they are not that easy. I mean, one of the balls he came up yesterday and threw off his right, ended up throwing it off his right foot, and it was a dart on a bunt, I think is what it was. That's not an easy play. Your body's going that way and you're throwing it that way, and it was a missile. Mm-hmm. These guys have been very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, and those are the things that give you hope that not only for next year, but like later this year. Like Paul Maneri's talked a lot about how, his teams tend to get better, and play their best baseball at the end of the year. And, I think that was largely true at LSU. We'll see if that happens at South Carolina. But those are the kind of players that give you hope that it will, right? Like, KJ is only going to keep getting better. Bo Hollins is only going to keep getting better. I mean, if you're a freshman, like to get better, you have to play. And that's what they're doing. Scobie's obviously started the whole year. Hollins, I think, is going to be in there, maybe not every day, but a lot, upcoming and maybe every day. So, those guys are going to keep improving. I'm not going to sit here and promise that they're going to be 300 hitters with double-digit home runs, but they're going to keep getting better. And that's what South Carolina needs is guys in the lineup who continue to elevate their game a little bit. And a couple of guys are doing that. A couple of guys are slumping a little bit, but they need more production from an offensive and defensive standpoint. I mean, defense again was something that hurt South Carolina this past weekend again. That's not something I was anticipating particularly coming into the season. I thought this would be a really, really good defensive team, and they haven't been awful, but they haven't been quite to the level that I thought. And, some plays that should have been made and aren't errors were not. It just hasn't been particularly clean defensively, and, that's not something that I was really anticipating coming into this.
Yeah, it's simple stuff, that's been kind of mind-boggling. I mean, going back to last weekend, certainly this weekend, I don't know what the answer short is, John. I mean, Henry Kazmar is like 9 of 21 or something like that at the plate in SEC play, 9 of 21 or 9 of 22 or something. Either way, he's hovered around 400, I think, in league play, which is great. I mean, he had slumped offensively, and he's kind of picked it up a little bit. Defensively, inconsistent, I guess is what I would call it. I know Tippett had a interesting moment there on a tailor-made double play that certainly would have helped the Gamecocks and that didn't work out. I don't know what they do at that position. These guys, I know they're trying as hard as they possibly can, but there just hadn't seemed to be an answer over there.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, typically I lean towards defense at shortstop, and neither one of them are playing great right now. I mean, Tippett doesn't look very confident to me right now, just in the way he's moving from a defensive standpoint. And Kazmar's got to be in his head, at this point. But he's, as you mentioned, he's doing better offensively. I mean, I don't know that you don't try Jordan Carey on there at some point, but but you say that in one breath, and then it's like, well, who do you play at second? Well, there's really not anybody who's really capable of playing second right now. Nolan Araki didn't make the trip this past weekend to Arkansas, and he wasn't active against Oklahoma the week before. He's back to having some knee problems again, and they rushed him back from that injury way too quickly, and feeling the ill effects of that now. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, Henry Kazmar is a good defensive shortstop, and he's shown that here this year, but he's made some really dumb, uncharacteristic plays defensively too. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think you have to keep riding with Kazmar with the hopes that, he gets past this defensive hiccup, because you need some guys offensively too, and he's been swinging the bat so well lately. It's a really hard decision to make on where to go at that position.
You mentioned Carry On, and something happened yesterday that we talked about Friday. I talked to Coach Lake about this, and sometimes John, think about what Carry On has been doing offensively over the last couple of weeks, right? He's been pretty special offensively, and he's been pretty special defensively. Again, the ninth inning aside against Oklahoma, he's been very, very reliable out there. Great hands, great footwork. He's looked good. And I we were talking about the 2-hole on Friday with Coach Lake, and I said, sometimes you think that maybe this is an answer, and then you make that change. We saw this a lot under Coach Kingston, and it compounds a problem. You're trying to solve one problem, and then you create another issue. And I'm not saying that this was just one game, John. So I don't really want to, let's not put the cart way ahead, the horse way ahead of the cart, whatever that saying is. But Carry On looked, I thought, uncomfortable in the 2-hole yesterday, and he ended up being, I think he was 0 for 5 in the ball game. Prior to that, his swings looked just a lot better. Some guys are just comfortable hitting down in the lineup, but that's my thoughts. We bring you on here to ask you about your thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Jordan's probably a bottom of the order hitter. I've felt that way and thought, as soon as they put him up in the 2-hole, he'll go 3 for 4 with a double and, make me look stupid. And, I still could happen. Like, I don't know that a 1-game sample size is good in baseball, not really, for anything. And, if you think that that's a move that you should make, then I think that's a move that you should try for 3 or 4 games to see where it goes. Now, I mean, it may not be real fair to have those 3 or 4 games be against the pitching staffs that you're going to see over those 3 or 4 games. But, I think you've got to be prepared if you're going to do something like that to give it a little bit of time to breathe and, see if it comes to life or not. But ultimately, I think he's a bottom third of the order hitter. But he certainly, I'll say this, based on what he's done, he deserves the opportunity to show that he's more than that. But for me, what kind of back to what I said about Dylan Eskew, when I'm in those times of crisis, for lack of a better word, I kind of go back to what I think I know and what I originally thought. And, I'd try to put Kazmar back up there and try that. That would be my move if I didn't feel just like moving Ethan Petrie up. I mean, stack Ethan Petrie and Nathan Hall right there. I don't know. don't want to give the impression right now, especially because, like I said earlier, it's Arkansas and Tennessee coming up, and they're just better than South Carolina. I don't want to make it sound like it's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because I don't think it's at that point. But you've kind of got the hand that you're dealt in terms of how good some of these players are, and what their talents lend them to do. And I don't see any like clear, obvious solutions of things that just make things better overnight. Some guys are going to have to grow into some roles and just continue to try to play better for things to turn around a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, not trying to have a bunch of knee-jerk reactions around here. I'm not really like that, but at least creating the conversation to try to figure out what the answer might be. One final quick one here. Brendan Sweeney, and I want to give him a little bit of grace, because I thought his outing at Oklahoma was very special, and he was extended, and he just really ran out of gas. But still, when you add the numbers up, you go back, I'm looking at him now, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And again, you have some grace here, but also yesterday he couldn't even record an out. You're talking about 3 1/3 innings pitched, and he's allowed 10 hits and 8 earned runs in those 3 contests. John, he's supposed to be the closer, and he's had some nice moments in different games this year, but against those 3 opponents, it hadn't really gone his way. Do you think that that's something that's under evaluation?
It's got to be. I mean, it's got to be, and I'm not sure where his velocity went. I mean, in the scrimmages, he was throwing 95, 96, and I'm pretty sure he touched a couple of 97s if I'm not confusing him with somebody else. And I just haven't seen that same velocity since we got into the season, and I don't know what the reason for that is. He's a fastball changeup kind of pitcher, and if you're not throwing one of those pitches for a strike, then that makes things challenging, and I don't think he's throwing quite enough strikes to be effective in that role. So I mean, some of these guys who I've been who I've thought might have an opportunity to get a look at the back end of the game, just haven't been quite as good either. I mean, Zach Russell's one, and he had a tough go of it against College of Charleston the other day, but he was good against Arkansas the other day and has been good every other time out. So I don't know what the answer with that one is. Like I thought when you eventually moved Jarvis Evans into the rotation, like you take a look at Ryder Guarino, but he had a really tough day yesterday. Some of these answers aren't quite as clear as maybe what we were thinking, or options maybe aren't quite as clear as what we were thinking initially. But Sweeney's job has got to be under evaluation too, just like basically everybody else's on this team.
Yeah, and let me be fair to him. I said 10 hits, 8 hits, but he has also walked 5 guys, and that's I do think the strikes are an issue. He was getting behind guys yesterday. I thought, that ain't good, and it wasn't. We'll see. What do you make of the SEC right now, John? For those maybe fringe paying attention, you look at the top: Arkansas and Tennessee at 5-1. That's not a shocker. But did anybody see what the Georgia Bulldogs did to Florida this weekend? The Gators and the Aggies, 2 preseason top 3 teams, haven't won a game. They are a combined 0-12 in the SEC.
That's crazy. The bottom of the standings are just kind of as crazy as the top. Mississippi State was supposed to challenge for Omaha this year. They're down at 1-5 also. I don't think most folks thought that South Carolina was going to be competing to go to Omaha this year. So them being at 1-5 and Missouri being at 0-6 isn't like crazy surprising. But Texas A&M, Florida, Mississippi State being down there, having won a combined, one game out of 18 is just kind of crazy to me. It's a strange start to the year in the league for sure. And Florida's dealing with a bunch of injuries right now, so they've they've got a little bit of an excuse. Texas A&M had the one big injury at the beginning of the year, but they got a new head coach that the players installed last off season, and maybe that one's not going to work out because they got talent for days on that team. But very, very odd start to league play in some instances, but it's 2 out of 10 so far, and still a long way to go for the league. And I know that Florida is going to bounce back to some degree. Texas A&M's too talented to not get out of the cellar. That's for sure. I'm not saying they're going to be competing for a championship, but I think they'll be right in the mid pack of the league by the time this thing comes to an end. But right now it's off to a little bit of a crazy start, which is part of the reason why I don't really pay too much attention to standings and stats until about the third or maybe fourth week of conference play. But you can't fall too far behind. You can't play your way out of anything, the first 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks or so of the league. And, the teams that are going to be sitting down there at 1 and 2 wins, they've got a tough road to hoe.
For anybody wondering, is Carolina totally out of everything? No, they're not. Obviously, they're going to have to win games, but they have 0 bad losses this year. Gamecocks are at 28th in the RPI, which is a really good number after what just happened this weekend. Got a quad 1 opportunity tomorrow night against North Carolina, where they've had a bunch of success against the Tar Heels up in Charlotte. Speaking of success, the softball program this weekend, John, they win another big-time series over Texas Tech. I know it slipped away yesterday. They were up 5-3, and the Red Raiders come back to take a 6-5 lead, and they hang on, and they salvage Game 3 of that series. But Ashley Chastain's team pitched their way to a couple of wins prior to 5-2 and 1-0 on Saturday over Texas Tech. They got Clemson tomorrow night at home at 6 o'clock, and her ladies are 24-6 right now, 2-4 in the SEC, and they head to Baton Rouge next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big weekend for that team. I was at the game on Saturday and Sunday, so I wasn't. I was at the game on Saturday and Sunday, and that Sunday game was just weird the way it transpired. Technical difficulties early in the game, 10-minute delay, trying to figure out a replay review, and then the game ended. I don't know if you saw or other folks saw that they didn't play the bottom of the 7th inning because of a drop-dead curfew. Texas Tech had to hop on a flight to get back home, and they didn't get a chance to play the bottom of the 7th. Now they played the top of the 7th. If Texas Tech had gone up 2 runs or gone up a run, scored 2 runs in the top of the 7th to go up a run, then they would have reverted back to the 6th inning score, and South Carolina would have ended up winning. But anyway, they didn't get a chance to play the bottom of the 7th, technically final in 6 innings. Disappointing to not get an opportunity, but I don't know that they were going to hit that Kennedy girl for the 2nd day in a row. That girl is something else. But talked to Ashley Chastain about tomorrow. She said, obviously, this is something that's crazy important to me, and I've got to balance everybody's emotions with trying to stay on process and understanding that if you try too hard, then you're not gonna play well. So she certainly understands everything about what this game tomorrow night is about, and they've got the Tigers tomorrow at 6 at Beckham Field, and I would expect that game be pretty darn close to every seat in the house be filled. It was a decent crowd this past weekend against number 12 Texas Tech, but hopefully tomorrow it's even better.
Yeah, Clemson swept Syracuse in Syracuse, New York. Where else would you rather be than Syracuse, New York in March? But they did go up there this weekend and they swept through them. I don't know how good Syracuse's team is, but Tigers come in at 24-9 and 6-3 in the ACC. Clemson had passed South Carolina in softball, but it doesn't look like that's the case anymore, obviously, with what the Gamecocks have been able to do. So hopefully tomorrow night it's a packed house out there. And hat tip to Coach Tanner. He's turning into quite the color analyst.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to hear him because I was there, but I saw him after the game and he didn't stop. He stopped long enough to say hello, and that was it. But he was booking it over to the CLA for that game yesterday afternoon, and obviously that one went well for the Gamecocks.
It sure did. We're going to talk more about that coming up here in hour number 2. John, any parting shots? Did we miss anything? I know you got the birds are excited to see everybody this morning. We hear them.
Yeah, and they're probably excited for the rain too. We got a little drizzle out there to wash some of this pollen away. So another busy week for South Carolina athletics with baseball, softball, spring football, women's basketball, and everything else. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We'll talk to you more about the men's portal and stuff next week too. We'll wait on that. Thanks, dude.
Sounds great. Appreciate you, Jamie.
There you go. John Whittle with the Big Spur. All right, it's almost 11 o'clock. That means hour 2 is on the way. Hour 1 brought to you by Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. You can order the Ribo hats and more. Anything. You can order anything there. GamecockTraditions.com. Alex Jones, another piece of the very important Big Spur staff. He'll join us when we return.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. thebarndominiumco.com.
You don't have to be Scottish to enjoy South Carolina's most unique family festival, a celebration of Celtic culture. Tartan Day South, built by Culpeper Wood. Experience adventure, Highland games, music, dancing, animals, crafts, rides, a car show, and a parade. Kick off your weekend with a Celtic concert on Friday and a full day of affordable fun and festivities on Saturday at the historic Columbia Speedway. April 3rd through 5th. Get your tickets and more information at tartandaysouth.com. Your first visit won't be your last.
It's gone! That ball is going to be out of here! Fair ball in the corner!
The atmosphere in Founders Park is electric. There's nothing like being loud and proud for our Gamecocks. Gamecock Traditions proudly supports Carolina baseball and wants you to look your best while you're at the ballpark. Come see us and choose from the best selection of game hats, hoodies, shirts, and all that entails the baseball logo. From tailgate gear to jewelry and plenty for your kids, Gamecock Traditions is your Gamecock baseball locker room. Don't forget, we have the widest selection for all sports and USC apparel. Come see us in Lexington or in the Village at Sand Hill, or order online and have it shipped to your doorstep at GamecockTraditions.com. Go Gamecocks!
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
This is my dirt.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barn Dominion Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Hour 2 starts now.
Yeah, I'd hate to be the first to sell. This is my dirt, these are my fields, where I harvest what I plant. That little pond, I catch bluegill. I built that barn with my 2 hands, where I raise my babies, a piece of me. Now this ain't just a piece of land. The money be great, but I can't part ways with a life that works. You can't put a greenback dollar on what it's worth.
All right, it's the final hour of the morning show. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, built by the Barndo Co. and brought to you by our friends at Palm Casual. PalmCasual.com, the best outdoor furniture that money can buy. I am a walking, talking, breathing example of that. I could not be more thrilled with my outdoor furniture that I took a little nap on, Alex, on Saturday afternoon. The pride of Hampton County. I know we gotta hurry because you got to get to some press conferences today over at the facility. But glad to have you, brother. How are you?
Doing good. It's good to be back with you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I know we missed you last week, but that wasn't, because we wanted to miss you. It was just a scheduling conflict. How's your bracket?
Not good. I thought I was doing well on day 1, and then it all just went to heck after, I think it was day 2. And I think I'm like, I don't even know what percentage I am, but I quit paying attention to it because it was so bad.
99.5% right here.
Jeez. I'm not going to know what to do with myself this afternoon with no basketball. And I mean, after 4 straight days of this or 3 straight days, whatever, I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, probably. We're busy enough.
You'll probably be writing something on what Mike Shula and Clayton White have to say.
Yeah.
Right? They come up.
I imagine so.
Yeah. There you go. 12:30, the coordinators will meet. We'll shifting gears from baseball and March Madness and all that stuff in the first hour to football. Now, Alex, is spring practice. I think tomorrow is the 3rd practice. Or is it tomorrow? No. Yeah. Tomorrow's the 3rd, right?
Yep.
And then Thursday will be the 4th. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We're on schedule here. Okay. What are you learning? What stood out?
So the first day we were there, didn't see too much, just all stretching and things at ball security, special team stuff. Obviously the story of the day from day 1 of practice was the Vakari Swain news. I think obviously that was the top news coming out of the day, and we'll see, kind of continue to monitor that and see, how, one, just with Vakari Swain, but 2, that, other corner spot. Because, I think if you're making a spring depth chart, I think you'd probably, feel pretty good about penciling in Vakari Swain at that other corner spot opposite of Judge Collier. So, continue to monitor that. And, I thought another one of the things that stood out from day 1 of practice that we saw was Luke Doty was dressed as a quarterback and going through, or he stretched as a quarterback, but then did, he's listed as an athlete, so he did all the special teams drills. So I thought that was interesting. And, we talked about that on the show last week. I think it's just kind of an experience thing to add to that room because it's a really good room overall, but it's a young room when you look at, just the backups and really Norris, you can still count him as young too. So, that was a few of the things, from those types of practices, you can see from guys who look pretty good physically. I thought one guy that stood out to me was Fred Johnson. From a year 1 to year 2, I thought he looked really good physically, and we saw what he could do on the field last year. So I think they're expecting him to make a big jump and need him to make a big jump there. And then Rasul Faison was another one that I thought looked like, it looks like an SEC running back. We've seen what he could do on the field, but physically he looked really good as well.
Yeah, I spoke with someone the other day that has had a chance to spend some time around him, obviously. And I said, well, what stands out about him? He said, everything. The guy looks like a man. He talks like a man. He walks like a man. And now he is a man. He's also, I think, 25 years old. I mean, he's been around a little while. But from a physicality standpoint, Alex, when you put him into the mix here and Juwan Howell and Matthew Fuller and Oscar Attaway, like if you're using an eyeball test to look at a running back, that is a good looking group of dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they would absolutely pass the eyeball test. When Matthew Fuller is a guy who I'm going to continue to keep an eye on because I'm interested to see how he can perform. Because last year he was physically looked like he was ready to go. I mean, he came in ready physically, but I think he had so many guys ahead of him on the depth chart that he kind of could use that redshirt year to continue to learn to be an SEC back to pick up everything from the offense, the blitz pickups, and everything like that. But maybe he's ready to take that big year 1, year 2 jump. And Juwan Howell, I thought when he got in last year, you could see his athleticism and his quickness and explosion, and you saw it in the Illinois game too when his workload increased. And so it's a really it's a deep room when you look at it. Obviously, maybe you like to have 5 scholarship backs in there, but I think you like the 4 that you have in there, and it's a really interesting room that it's got a lot of potential.
I'm curious as to what you have on the agenda to talk to Coach Shula about today. We were having some conversation with JC last week about maybe some potential shifts in offensive philosophy from the standpoint of RPOs and things like that, just trying to simplify some things. And obviously he's got an extensive background with a variety of quarterbacks. He's coached college football, he's coached the NFL. He's seen a lot of different things and what certain personnel is capable of doing versus others, et cetera, et cetera. It is an offensive line that I think we probably should expect to at least see one transfer starting on at least to begin the year when they get there against Virginia Tech. I would imagine it seems to be trending that way. But I am really curious, with this stable of running backs who are largely unproven at South Carolina, but not unproven in college. I'll be curious as to what offensively they think the best thing is for them to go along with their quarterback, Lenore Sellers. I mean, he could have been sacked 150 times last year. It felt like, he's going to get sacked. It's the SEC. I get that. But being able to minimize that, utilize the talent, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. My point was, have you thought about any of that and what you plan to ask Mike Shula so we know what we're going to be reading later on?
Yeah, the run game is something that's really interesting. You brought up, how do they continue to utilize Lenore Sellers' legs? Because, obviously we all saw how they did it last year with some of those quarterback powers, to both sides of the line. And, it's really interesting to see, kind of how Mike Shula kind of puts his stamp on the offense. What do they kind of bring over from the Dow Loggins offense, being that Mike Shula had, a big hand in that too, helping put the game plans together in his role last year, helping Dow Loggins. But the run game is something I'm really interested to, hear what he says about today, because we mentioned the stable of backs that they have that are really talented, and Lenore's legs, obviously we saw what he can do last year. And, there's a few other things, we wanted to hear from Mike Shula, just, obviously being that there are only 2 practices in, that there's not a whole lot, from on the field stuff that they're going to be able to add just because from they haven't even put the pads on yet. But, just
Sure.
his take on the offensive line right now, you got those 3 key spots on the interior having to replace. And, I think you feel good, about some of the quality options that they can have in there with guys like a Trovon Ball or a Tree Bobley. Can they slide in there to those guard spots? And then the transfers that you mentioned. And then at wide receiver, what's he seen from Nick Harbor so far? Obviously Nick Harbor talked last week, and you kind of hear the confidence he has, and having not have to worry about battling with spring practice and track. He's going to do full on spring practice. How's he seen that kind of help him so far, even though it's early on? So a lot of different topics to add. Not only with Mike Shula, but with Clayton White as well. Just a lot of things they got to replace defensively, and how good he feels about what they have to replace. It
does seem like the light has come on with Nick, doesn't it?
Yeah. You could see it middle of last year towards going into that end of the season. You really start to see the light come on, and I think I asked him about that in his press conference, and you could just tell he kind of just mentioned just gaining confidence. And I think the more he did it, the more it became more comfortable to him, and he put a lot of work in, and credit to him and Mike Furry for putting that work in and, continue to build him. But I think this spring is huge for him because, as I mentioned, having his sole focus on football, he can build off of that a really strong into that season. And he's going to have a lot of eyes on him, not only from a local standpoint, but from a national standpoint, being that, he's one of the, top, incredible athletes in the game right now. So they need him to take a big step forward. And, it seems like he's doing everything he can to do that.
Yeah, obviously going back to last season and watching him play, he continued to look more and more like a wide receiver and less like a guy who was trying to learn to play wide receiver. But then you hear it when he communicates with the media, everybody goes through this. The young guys who have the expectations, you can if you've been doing it long enough, you can tell by listening to them and watching them, okay, this is all still kind of, their mind is 1,000 different directions when they're asked a question or whatever the case is. It does not seem like that at all for him. He seems incredibly focused on the task at hand. I don't know that he would even answer this question. This is just a curiosity deal. It really actually means literally nothing. But Curtis Fry, of course, retired. Curtis Fry had a lot to do with his recruitment to South Carolina. You almost wonder if, when he lost that relationship with Coach Fry, if maybe that affected his thinking as to whether he wanted to continue to run track here. But obviously he loves Shane Beamer in the football program. That wasn't something he was going to do or anything like that. Just curious, it happened a while ago. He went through a season and, maybe it's like, yeah, I'm kind of done with it. I don't know. I don't know if that affects anything or not, but it certainly is interesting. Back to last week, Zion Giles commits to the Gamecocks. Give us your perspective on what that means to this class.
Yeah, we've seen, it's another really good get for Lonnie Teasley and those guys. They continue to build that room. And, I think they looked at, when you look at these past few cycles, they've really focused on building that room, not only from a production standpoint on the field and from a starter standpoint, but building the depth in that room. And I think it just really has come down to, one, they've had a lot of really talented in-state offensive linemen that they've done a good job in landing these past few cycles. But one, I think they just kind of were not going to let 2023 happen again because, as we all saw with the injuries that happened on that line, it not only, derailed the offensive line's performance just with all the different guys who went in there, but that hurt the offensive performance overall. And I think now they've built a really solid room. And, with Giles, he's a really good player, a guy coming out of Carver's Bay and a guy who I think is, a top 150 player in the composite rankings right now. And just another really good get for South Carolina. And, they had to battle off Clemson late in that one, but they did it. And now, South Carolina obviously landed his commitment as another really good one for Lonnie Teasley and those guys.
You had a really interesting column up 3 days ago, so we can go a little bit deeper in it now that everybody's had a chance to read it. If they haven't, go check it out. And it's something that I had kind of hit on last week, or we collectively here, we had kind of hit on with how well they have actually recruited at this position. Now, clearly, some of the guys aren't here yet, or some are really young, but others have been around a little while, and it's their turn. Like, hey, you need to go play. You've been here for 2-3 years. It's time to turn the page and let's go do some things. But it was titled, "A Look at the Last 10 High School Offensive Line Commitments." Give us a summary of that. And what you when you actually stopped and went back and looked at these guys that Lonnie Teasley and this staff collectively have signed at this position, what did you discover?
You really can see a lot of potential in each of those guys. And a lot of those guys are still in the program. And, obviously there's a few of these past cycles where the numbers wise, they needed a lot of guys, but you look at guys like Cam Pringle, who you can see the potential there, and he's still working his way up the depth chart. But guys like Cam Pringle, guys like Blake Franks, who, it seems like has, taken another, from a physical standpoint, both of those guys from year 1 to year 2 have taken a step. Guy that I'm interested to see is Marquis Anderson. He's a guy who, was finally healthy last year and played a lot of special teams work, but now can he work his way into one of those guard positions? And I think it's a big year for Marquis Anderson. So it goes back to when, I put that together and you looked at all the 10 those linemen, not even including the transfers that they've added for this past cycle, not only the past cycle and what they did, but this year, it's just, you could argue that's the spot they've recruited the best at. And now I think it's just taking that next step, being more consistent, I think, on the line. They started to perform better as, from that middle part to end of the season. But now it's that next step of putting it all together from the start. And, they've got, with the way they've recruited those high school ranks that I kind of threw in that article, like there's a lot of potential in that room and a lot of different options they can go with.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 of those 10 are from the Palmetto State, correct?
Yeah, the Palmetto State's really had a bunch of good offensive linemen in this, and not only this cycle, but these past few cycles. Guys I mentioned, Josiah Thompson, you throw him in there. I mean, guy was a 5-star offensive tackle out of Dillon this past cycle, and I mean, he's going to start at left tackle. Started left tackle last year, and obviously got that spot locked down heading into year 2. And it's the state has had that's one thing that's helped the offensive line too. Is the state's been really good, and they've got not only guys in this class, but you got Anthony Baxter already committed out of South Point. You got guys like Trey Aiken and Desmond Green who are highly ranked or high profile guys who have a lot of different offers, and South Carolina's going after them as well. And so it's a credit to Luke Day to Lonnie Teasley and those guys for continuing to build that room. And it's deep room right now. Now it's just taking that next step.
Yeah, the relationships that have been built. I mean, Lonnie Teasley, it really is an interesting conversation, and it depends on who you have it with too, because everybody's got a little bit of a different opinion or flavor of an opinion, if you will, on the job that he has done since being named the offensive line coach. He obviously was in the program prior to as basically an assistant offensive line coach, but you've got like 50 years of experience or something in coaching the offensive line on this staff right now. I mean, the Greg Adkins and Teasley and Sean Elliott, and I know that Sean is technically the tight ends coach, and Greg is quote unquote off the field or whatever. That's fine, but when it comes to recruiting, my understanding here, and I'm not trying to take it, I know that there's a group effort when they recruit a lot of kids. Shane Beamer is big on, well, whatever it takes, we need to do what we need to do. But my understanding is all these guys, the main relationship has been with Lonnie Teasley. And so when they've had their struggles on the field, clearly, you're like, golly, we got to get some things right here. But then off the field, he goes out and signs. Like, I don't remember a time in Gamecock football history that they've signed this many quality offensive linemen. I don't. I've been around a long time, as long as you could actually follow it. I don't remember any run like this. But I think the reason that maybe it's not getting more public play, Alex, is because the success has been quite hit or miss on the field.
Yeah, and that's something that's going to be interesting. You go back to what we're talking about with Mike Shula. How does he help that offensive line continue to be more consistent? Is that maybe from a more different run concept type of things? Is that something that helps that lineup? But they were an older group last year, you guys with those interior guys. But now you're going to have a Josiah Thompson who's in his second year and has all the talent in the world. Obviously those. We'll see what they do with those interior spots in case Henry's back for another year, and a guy who's been a starter, for 2 years now. And, I think it's just one, going back to keep talking about just being more consistent on the offensive line. But I mean, you can't doubt what they've done on the recruiting trail with those guys. I mean, Lonnie Teasley, Greg Atkins, Sam Survey, like they've done an incredible job, and it's now just taking it and, running with it because they've got a lot of talented options they can go with at each spot.
Alex Jones, the pride of Hampton County. It's 11:20 here on Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, powered by our friends at Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com, if you'd like to ride as fast as Nick Harbor runs. On the other side, you got a guy named Dylan Stewart. What does he look like from a physical standpoint? Because last year, obviously, he is a large man. We all know that. But we remember when Jadeveon came in and you thought he couldn't get any bigger, and then you turn on the TV his sophomore year and you're like, oh my God, he got huge. What does he look like? And because we haven't, Alex, we have not anticipated the return of a defensive lineman at South Carolina any more than Dylan Stewart since Clowney. Since Clowney, from his sophomore year to his junior year, it was like, oh my gosh, this kid's coming back. It is a very similar feel right now, but also they're having to replace largely the rest of the defensive line, although they have guys who played. What does he look like? How is he handling it?
Yeah, I thought when I saw him at practice last week, I thought he looked bigger and stronger. Like he continues to be in the weight room, and you saw that from preseason camp into the season last year. You can see what he did from a physical standpoint, and it looks like he's taken another little jump from a physicality standpoint. And I think now the next step with him is he's going to have all the attention, as you mentioned, not only really just on the field from an opposing offensive lineman are going to be game planning for him. Last year when you think about it, they had to game plan for him too, but they also had to deal with Kyle Kennard on the other side. So there was a lot of attention to Kyle Kennard as well. But now when you look at, a lot of the attention is going to go to Dylan Stewart next year. And, I think that's going to be one thing that's going to help those interior guys for one thing, they continue to produce because, you've got to think they're going to try to double team Dylan Stewart a little bit, and that's going to help open up the interior. But now it's that opposite edge spot. Who's going to step up there? You got guys like Jalen Brown and Brian Thomas, who when you watch him play, that guy goes all out and he produces. Like he had a kind of a sneaky good year last year, and he's entering as a senior, and so I think it could be a big year for him. So there's a whole bunch of different options that go out on the opposite side of him. But from Dylan Stewart perspective, he's going to have all the attention in the world from the national media. You're already seeing that, him being named one of the best overall players in the country returning in 2025 by multiple outlets. So he's going to have a lot of attention, but, you have to imagine he's ready for it. And with the way he had a lot of attention last year and he handled it pretty well.
Yeah, those multiple outlets I'm drawing from another column that you wrote include Pro Football Focus having him as the second-ranked edge defender returning to college football behind Colin Simmons from Texas. That's pretty good company there. I guess I didn't realize that his pass rush grade last year was 91.4. He had 51 pressures on the season. That's about 4 a game that tied second among returning Power 4 edge rushers. Again, this I'm drawing from Alex. I'm stealing all of his information here. Also, the College Football Network has him as the second overall returning player, like overall returning player in the country. Cole Kubelik has him as his third-ranked overall returning player. This is over everybody. I mean, every position, number 3. And he is, of course, on the All-American team already for ESPN because that matters in January, February, and March. But still, though, it goes back to what you were just saying a minute ago, and it brings everybody else into the equation here. He's going to be numero uno that is circled by Virginia Tech and every team that South Carolina plays after that until somebody kind of arrives at that level of disruption. Okay, yeah, we're circling him, but this kid. So what have you heard around the facility? You mentioned Brian Thomas at the other edge position. I've heard good things about the kid from Missouri, of course. What about the interior, though? What do those guys look like? And although it's perceived to be an inexperienced group here at South Carolina, and maybe a little bit of a thinner group than you'd like. I know they if they can, they'll still sign another superstar in the portal if they can find one in April. But what have you heard about those guys?
Yeah, I think the transfers have caught the attention of the staff so far in Gabriel Brownlow Dindy from Texas A&M and Devontae Miles from Bowling Green. You got those two guys coming in with some of the returners and, Nick Barrett and Monkel Goodwine, I think, when you look at him, could be in for a big season. I think you pencil him in as a starter, but I remember talking to Travian Robertson, before the year, and he mentioned, how excited he was for him. And, he was behind some of those other guys that we've talked about on the interior, but I mean, he could be in for a big year. And I thought he got in last year, he flashed. But, and another guy I'm interested to see is Xavion Hardy. He's one who's coming in from East Mississippi, number 1 overall JUCO player in the country. And I think he could be in, for maybe starting, maybe not. We'll see. It's way too early to really see any that matters. But he's going to need to produce for South Carolina. I think he can do that. So I'm interested to see what Clayton White today talks about those guys on the interior, because it's a huge one. The defense on all 3 levels has big spots to fill, but they've got 3, top high-end defensive tackles they're having to replace, and they got a few options to do that. And then we'll see once that spring portal window opens up what they're able to do.
Brownlow Dindy and Xavion Hardy are 2 guys you want to get off the bus as soon as they can.
Yeah.
First of all, how there's always the perception that if you sign a player out of the portal and he didn't come from like a big name school, not always with everybody, I'm just saying with just, a few people, oh, this guy came from Bowling Green, he's probably not very good. Okay. Well, to those people, Brownlow Dindy came from A&M, the 5-star kid. Xavion Hardy was wanted by everybody in the SEC. You mentioned Monkel Goodwine. He comes from Alabama. All right, so Jaylen Brown came from Missouri, a very highly touted defensive end from there. All right, so these are all SEC guys that are here on this roster at South Carolina, and they look like machines. I mean, all of them, every one of them. I mean, Hardy is enormous. I know he's dropped a little bit away, but my understanding is that was good for him to do that. They're going to get it back up. Gabriel Brownlow Dindy is huge, Alex. He's enormous. Like I'm talking about his body, the way that he's built. He might not be 6'7". I don't give a crap about that. This guy is a machine when you look at him. I mean, again, the eyeball test, these are the guys, wherever you go, let them get off the bus first.
Yeah, I think you're really starting to see on the interior what they're looking for at that spot. And, I'll add another guy, Caleb Williams. Obviously, he's banged up to start spring practice, and he was one I was interested to see and if he can make an impact. But he was one where I remember seeing in the high school recruiting process, and I was kind of like, whoa, like he looks like he could be ready to come in right now and play. And, we'll see how much he's able to do towards the end of spring practice. But another guy, too, that's not in for spring practice at that spot is Christian Ingram, who kind of fits that same mold of what they're looking for with Travian Robinson and those guys. And, you're right. It's a group that's physically just a big group. And, it's kind of interesting just because when you look at last year's roster, TJ Sanders and, it was maybe a little bit, shorter from a defensive tackle standpoint, but I mean, that obviously didn't stop him. He's got a chance to be a second or maybe even a high third round draft pick. But, I think you really start to see the mold of what they're looking for at defensive tackles because that room really kind of has a consistent, size and, weight there. And I think it's an impressive physically looking room now. It's just taking to the next step with the on-field production. There's
no question. That group and the offensive line have so much to prove. This is going to be quite a battle. I can't wait to watch it. Do me a favor. Ask Mike Shula who number 81 is. Reno Rame. How about that name? A walk-on tight end who is 6'7", 260 pounds, out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He enrolled in the fall, and he joined the team on the first day of spring practice last week. He is a walk-on. He earned a spot on the roster after tryouts. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's about to change with the rosters and all the NIL and et cetera, right? Reno, R-O-E-H-M, Reno Rame. So when you talk to Mike today, ask him, who the hell is 81? That would literally be how I asked the question. Who in the hell is 81, Mike?
Yeah, well, we'll see what kind of response I get if I ask him that way. But looking at, 6'7", 255, it's pretty impressive.
Huge.
Yeah, I remember seeing him out there, and I don't think he was on the roster that we had when we were out there, and it's kind of like, who's this kid? No. And 6'7", he stood out, and as tight end's another spot that's intriguing with Michael Smith battling injury as well. And we'll see what he can do. They got options there, but being that he's a walk on, maybe we'll see kind of from a future standpoint what he can bring. But it's definitely intriguing being that you're 6'7", 255 pounds as a redshirt freshman walk on.
That's right, Reno Rame. Who would have thought we'd have two Renos on this team? Dante Reno and Reno Rame. Just saying.
Yeah,
we might be on to something. Somebody, all these folks that are watching and listening, remember March 24th, 2025, 11:30 a.m. The first time you heard of Reno Rame right here via the pride of Hampton County and myself. All right, what we miss? Did we miss anything? Anything? What do you got on the agenda? I know you got to get the dirt today out of the coordinators, and then we'll see some stuff. But what did we miss?
I think that's about it. We'll have a whole bunch of players tomorrow. I think, a whole bunch on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be interesting to see what those guys have to say as spring practice get underway. And then, then you got all the other sports going on. You got the men's basketball portal officially opening today, and I've seen, when you look at Twitter, it seems like somebody's entering every minute around the country, and it's going to be crazy. And we know what South Carolina's going to have to do in the portal, so it's in a crazy time right now.
Yeah, I didn't really put anything down to ask you about that because it's just too early. There's just it's kind of chaos, but we obviously know that the Gamecocks have have some guys in the portal, and they might have another one in the portal, and they are efforting to sign some high quality players to replace those young men. So we'll see what happens there, but we'll let the dust settle on that a little bit before we start picking and prodding on that. Alex, we know you got to get you a sandwich or something before you get over and start buttering the OC and the DC with a bunch of questions. But don't forget, hey, Mike, who the hell's number 81?
I just put it in my notes. We're going to see.
You can tell them where, hey, look, this is coming from the show. They want to know who the hell is number 81.
Yeah. I'll make sure to do that.
Who's Reno Rame, and where did the name come from? You remember the movie Four Christmases? Have you seen that?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't.
You haven't seen that with Reese Witherspoon, which, by the way, she's taken. So back off. And Vince Vaughn.
No, I haven't seen it. No.
They started calling him Orlando when they were visiting his dad's house for Christmas, and his brothers were referencing him as Orlando, and she was caught off guard. She's like, I'm engaged to this guy, and that's not it. Why are they calling you Orlando? And one of his brothers goes, you didn't know that? He didn't tell you? We're all named after the cities we were conceived in. I'm Denver. He's Dallas. That's Orlando. So maybe Reno's got a similar story. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just kidding. To the Rame family, we're just having fun. Alex, have a I don't, what's today? Monday. Have a marvelous Monday afternoon, my man. Thanks for all that you do, and we'll chat with you next week.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. There you go. All right. It is 11:35. We will step aside for a quick timeout. We'll be right back. Remarkable, 5-star, sensational. These are just some of the terms used to describe nationally renowned chef William Turner out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Originally from Georgetown, South Carolina, and a diehard Gamecocks fan, Chef Will made his way out west and has served parties from every state and many countries from across the globe. If you're in Arizona or have plans elsewhere, visit chefwilliamturner.com to inquire about private events and more. From MLB to NFL, the chef has served everyone. He's won all the awards, done all the press. There's a reason for that. Food from every culture, all of it first class. chefwilliamturner.com and Chef Will Turner on socials. You won't believe what you see. You really won't believe how it tastes.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, The Show.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
It's 11:37. Welcome back. There's Mad Dog. He's given his best Lamont Paris impression today.
That's right. It's Portal Day. We should all be celebrating, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I think that I know Conyers hit. I think Portal Pringle's probably going to end up in there from what I'm hearing. Austin Hero. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody.
Zach Davis was one I saw.
Zach Davis, yeah.
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 You said Conyers is going to hit the portal? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, Conyers. Well, he's already officially in now.
He's in. Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I heard over the weekend he was going, so he's in.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. But at the same time, I'm not really surprised by anything. Shoot, to be honest with you, I'm not. And I haven't really done a whole lot of checking in on things this morning. I wouldn't be shocked if there's another guy that ends up going, maybe a decently popular one. So we'll see. And to be quite frank, I actually, again, intel on this could be a little off, but I would say that the chances are better than I initially thought that Kyler Murray Boyles actually returns to South Carolina. Now, I'm not saying he is, but I'm certainly not saying that he's not either. So
it would be, man, talk about a selling piece, right? Well, listen, CMB's coming back. So yeah, I mean, come on down. Let's put together a team that can make a run.
Yeah.
I in regard to Colin Murray Boyle specifically, whatever decision he and his people feel is the best is obviously the one we will all support around here, and thank him for his time here at Carolina. Because he's been, I mean, just an incredible player, top to bottom, fun to watch. Just yeah.
Well,
love seeing his like his game, and yeah, if it's time to go get NBA money, then it's time to go get NBA money.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's going to win with whatever decision if he stays. Obviously, NIL is going to play a huge part in that, in securing his financial future. Now, I guess where you have to be, a little bit careful if you're South Carolina, and I hope my words don't get misconstrued on this, but let's say that he's set to earn X in the draft, and you say, okay, well, we can give you blank. You certainly don't want that to take away from what else you have to go around in the portal, but it's also Colin Murray Boyles. But you also saw what Colin Murray Boyles looks like with, largely not a ton of help around him. I mean, it's you can't go beat everybody. I mean, remember Anthony Edwards at Georgia? I mean, he was just outstanding, but the rest of them they just weren't there at that level. I mean, it was very, very hard. I mean, I would say that there is a chance. There was 15 guys on the roster this year, right? I guess when you include Federico. I would say that there's a chance, and I'd say the percentages on it aren't bad, that maybe just 4 of those guys are on it next year.
Yeah.
Could be more. Of course, it could always be less. But I'll bet you I'm pretty close. 4,
probably
5.
so. I mean, I think heading into the offseason, I think the expectation was that you're just going to blow this team up and start fresh. And I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, but if you're talking about only 4 or 5 guys returning, then it'd be a complete overhaul.
Yeah, well, all right. So let's play it out here. I haven't heard anything about Butler leaving,
right?
For what it's worth. Wright's gone. Davis is gone. Coggeshall is most likely going to be gone because he's a walk-on.
Yeah.
All right. So those 3 guys are gone. Thomas is gone. That's 4. Hero's gone. That's 5. Conyers is gone. That's 6. Piper will most likely be gone. That'll be 7. Yeah, he will. He is gone. For Donk, that's 8. Okay, and then you got to wait and see on Boyles. I feel like Pringle is more than likely not to return, but again, could be off. But
yeah,
so that's 9.
It's a real fluid situation.
Yeah, So I mean, okay, so if you all right, so let's talk about who would return. It looks like Studi's going to get another year, I think. So
I hope so.
If he does, and I do too. If he does, Butler, Studi, Federico Ugasuk. That's 4. And then Cam Scott. We'll see. That's 5. And then Colin, if he's back. So, yeah, I mean, that's an overhaul. I mean, obviously they got guys coming in out of the, with the signing class. But you'll be, I mean, they'll be, try to be big hitters in the portal, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that you're going to have to make some waves in the portal. You're not going to be able to take a step forward with this program with just what you have coming in from the high school ranks. And of course, there's going to be more resources available to the team to be able to do that. So you hold out hope that things will kind of be, that you're going to be able to acquire the right guys, like Coach Paris tells us, right? It's like, this is when he has been successful, it's because he's got the right guys. So, I have full confidence in him being able to assemble that and hopefully being able to then get the most out of them as they embark on their off season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you return 4, you got 4 coming in: Ellis, Walker, Polk, Simeon. Well, 4 plus 4 would be 8 based on my daughter's kindergarten math. So you would have 7 scholarships available in the portal.
Okay.
If you, God, I just can't imagine they only return 4 though. I'm gonna go with 5.
Yeah,
I'll go with 5. I'll go with 5.
4 and a player to be named later.
Yeah. So say it'll probably 6 or 7 guys they bring in out of the portal.
Yeah,
be my guess.
Which is fine. I mean, target what you need. Obviously, you need a point guard. I think that goes without saying. If Studi is back, that's good for you, because then you've got a shooter, and you got a shooter in Eli Ellis coming in. We know that actually has got some pretty clutch genes in him. Obviously, they don't play a lot of defense at that level where he went to high school at Overtime Elite, but hey, not all his shots are uncontested. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, this kid looks like he's coming in with some serious range and accuracy. So, hey, that's what you need. I mean, you got to just sell out, right, to get a point guard. You just have to, in my opinion, for this group. I mean, this team is just, regardless of who leaves, you're sunk if you don't have somebody running the point that's capable. And I think you're looking for a little experience there. Maybe try to find you another under the radar kind of Talon Cooper kind of guy. Obviously, they don't keep spitting out Coopers like crazy, but there's always going to be that level of talent that's in the portal that you're going to be able to find, that you're basically just having to go in there and outbid everybody else on for that kind of leadership and experience. But again, we'll see, because still got tournaments being played, and there's still guys making decisions on what they want their futures to look like. But here we are, the mid majors are going to get depleted here for a few weeks before they have to rebuild.
Do you feel like that's been shown in the tournament this year with the lack of upsets?
Yeah, you may be onto something there. And I think that, the Cinderella story is going to probably look a little different as we move forward. And that team's not necessarily going to be one that comes from the Horizon League champion is not going to make a run to the Elite 8. Those days may be gone. You might be looking at the G5 kind of being the new Cinderella in this revamped age. Obviously, small sample size with what happened in the SEC this year, but if all the Power 4 put their minds together and flex to get their basketball programs back up to snuff, then yeah, I mean, those players who traditionally would have sat on benches for 3 years at a Power 4 school are going to get these opportunities to be utilized in specific ways. So yeah, I don't know. You may be onto something there, JB. It's going to take a couple of years to figure that out, and how NIL has impacted that level of basketball, which is always fun because I mean, usually that's where you get these experienced teams who have played together for 5 years.
That's the point. That's my point.
Right.
I mean, that's where these teams. That's where the upsets come from. Is these? I've talked about that this morning. With Phil, with Bill, gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives it? Where you get a Wilmington or a Grand Canyon or a Utah State or something, you go, oh my gosh, Utah State is in the Sweet 16, and then you go look at their starting five and you realize that 4 of those guys are seniors and they've been around a while, and we've seen these teams how many times for decades. You watch them play and you're like, God, they're not better than this team, they're just smarter. Like, they're not more athletic than Duke or Kentucky or whoever.
No,
but they just have been playing together for 3 or 4 years, and that's how these teams get there. I don't know I don't know. I'm saying this totally blind. I haven't done my research on every one of those groups, but I don't know how many of those teams existed in this year's tournament.
No, I mean, you look at it like what was it last year? Oakland, right, was the team, and
was that
I think Oakland was last year.
Either way, yeah.
But you go back, you got Loyola. I mean, everybody's kind of had these moments where they jump up and these teams seemingly out of nowhere compete. But then when you start looking at these rosters, because you don't hear from them on the national perspective until the late March, you're like, well, yeah, that team has everything it needs to succeed. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can wash away a lot of talent with some experience and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And if a team buys in, I mean, was it the first UConn? Was it the 23 UConn or 20? That was out of nowhere. I mean, nobody was expecting them, I think, to win that title 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A little different last year, obviously, because now you've got the bona fides, but you can make a jump. But there again, NIL, until it gets capped, I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's reasonable to expect that you've got at least one more year of, and it will have long-term effects. So you could probably say 2 to 3 more years if you're looking at just the tournament itself, to where it's going to be pretty chalky.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty chalky. You're not going to have a lot of upsets in those first couple of rounds just because these teams don't have that secret ingredient of being able to play together for that long and develop those on-court relationships, just because the best players are going for, paychecks.
You know who doesn't love that? Vegas. Vegas is like, oh, wait a second. This Bradford guy, he's 99.5%. Wait a tick here. We gotta come on, boys. We gotta get something.
You're gonna put in
here.
A Bradford factor for you up here at the sports books, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a second. By the way, a couple of we hinted at this last week. Thought it would happen. It has. Nico Medved is headed to Minnesota from Colorado State, who damn near was the Cinderella in the Sweet 16. Maryland had to. That was March Madness right there. But so Maryland beat him, so now he's out, and Sean Miller is headed to Austin. Gamecocks. Well, I mean, you let things play out and you'll see. Carolina might have maybe avoided a potential debacle there. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe it would have set him up for the best coach in the history of the program or something like that, had Sean Miller actually ended up here. But I think we all knew, even if they did hire Sean Miller, he was going to be rented. He wasn't going to stick around very long. He had his eyes on other jobs. But so he's headed to Austin after they fired Rodney Terry. By the way, I meant to mention this earlier, and I know JC will pop in here in a little bit. Today is just a magnificent day, if you don't know this, on the National Day calendar. Have you paid attention to the National Day calendar today?
I have yet to look at it for today.
I'll be damned if I'm not giving you your dinner plans.
Well,
this is
all right.
It's National Cocktail Day, which
okay.
I'd rather them do like the third Saturday in March or something, but they just have a date. It's March 24th. So National Cocktail Day. It is also National Cheesesteak Day.
Ooh.
And I am a sucker for a good cheesesteak. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good cheesesteak. So tonight, treat yourself to a cheesesteak and a cocktail, and then enjoy this wonderful day in the world of food and bev, if you will.
Yeah, celebrate accordingly.
And tomorrow is National Medal of Honor Day. That's a big day in America, and we certainly are looking forward to that. But National Cocktail Day, National Cheesesteak Day. Are we good on breaks, or are we?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're good. Yeah, hit them.
No. Cheesesteak, Frederick. Cheesesteak, not cheesecake. Maybe I need to alliterate. Cheesesteak, National Cheesesteak Day. Unless he's saying that the Cheesecake Factory has good cheesesteaks. I wouldn't even know that. Do they even have cheesesteaks?
I don't know. But you would be able to get a cocktail and a cheesesteak at the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, no. He just
okay. No, just misunderstood.
Yeah, sorry.
That's on
Frederick.
you.
That is on me. Yeah, my apologies, my man. I just pulled up their menu here. And I'm not even close to a Cheesecake Factory, so it doesn't matter. It does not appear that they have a cheesesteak.
Yeah. Well, their loss.
They don't. They do have a double smash burger. I made smash burgers this weekend. But
I've got an issue with the smash burger. It's you get these restaurants are getting them too flat. Too damn flat, too smashed. Yeah, meat's dry. It's not. Yeah, I'm not liking this whole smash burger movement here, because that's how I usually prepare mine at home. But this is awful. It's too much and low quality. Yeah, I'm not happy with the
they just need to
offerings.
They need to throw a third patty on then instead of just having two.
Yeah,
if you're gonna go thin, you got to go more.
Listen, yeah, I mean, and I don't care if the burger fills out the bun. Whatever, it doesn't have to hang over the sides if it's just a not even an eighth of an inch thick and dry as hell.
Yeah.
I mean,
you might be onto something there.
This is a terrible movement.
Smash burgers have to have, obviously the meat has to, it has to be good, clearly. But what makes a smash burger is the cheese. Like, do you have enough cheese? More than enough cheese. You have to have more than enough cheese, and you have to butter the bun, and you gotta get a little. You gotta be able to cook the bun a little bit. You gotta be able to throw the bun on the flat top, get a little crispy, just a tad. So it all comes to the cheese sticks to the bun, and you want it messy. Like if you're eating a clean smash burger, that's a big problem to me. This thing's got to have some mess to it. It's got to be a little bit of a challenge to not have to wipe your face every time you take a bite. Right?
Yeah, I think like patty melt, right? Like that's a good kind of smash burger for me. Like I always assumed a patty melt was more like the smash burger type before smash burger became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't. I have a high standard when it comes to burgers.
So who has the best smash burger?
I don't care.
Oh, you don't have it?
No,
so
I don't. I don't
go-to.
do it.
Okay,
no. I'm not eating it. I'm not doing.
Oh, you're not even doing the smash burger. You're just out of the smash burger
I'm
game.
out.
Now.
I'm out. I've tried it at a couple of different places. I mean, even like from fast food to fast casual, and I can't because it just no.
Yeah, you're like the you're like the dude that you fell in love with the wrong girl. You know what I mean? Like you were all in on this chick, and then she just pulled the chair out from underneath you, left you on your rear end, and hightailed it to some goober that you thought, well, he doesn't stand a chance. Well, he did stand a chance. It's over. I mean, she left you in the dust. So you've been really affected by the smash burger. So somebody did a number on you. We got to figure out who that was.
I've been chewed up and spit to the side when it comes to the smash burger movement, and I am not doing it. I'll just make burgers at home, which are going to be so much better than that anyway.
See, I am not against it at all, but back in the day, the old school day of the the big half-pound burger, like the restaurants that would they brought you the old, the glass bottle of ketchup and the big knife was stuck through the middle of it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm not against that. I'll absolutely eat one. There's no question. But I'm not in search of it either. Like, I'd rather have a good smash burger.
Yeah, no. I long for the days of the big juicy burger being on almost every menu. It was virtually ubiquitous everywhere you go.
The knife through the burger.
Listen, if there's not juice coming out of the meat, I'm not interested. And if you smash it all to hell, then you cook all the damn juice out.
Unless you cook it perfect, which
right. And and how often are you going to get a perfectly cooked burger at either fast food or a fast casual kitchen?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to my friends at the Natural right around the corner from me here. It's a sports bar on Johns Island. They have an incredible smash burger, double patties, bacon. It's got all the flavor.
And that independent, I might try.
Yeah,
but for sure, if it's chain in any way, shape, or fashion, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I can't. No, I have higher standards than that for the burgers that I eat.
Fair enough. I mean,
I bet there's some burger opinions in here.
Yeah, they missed the whole thing. They're late to. So JC, Phil, it's like getting dumped by the girl that you love. Your heart was set on this. Here's my plan. Internally, you're telling yourself, I'm going to buy a ring. I'm going to propose at this area. This is my future. And then she pulls the rug out from underneath you. It's over. That's what happened to Phil with the smash burger game. He's totally out of the smash burgers now. He won't eat smash burgers anymore because he's had somebody smashed him wrong or something. But he's I haven't seen him this animated in a while. It's a big deal.
I'm a little worried. Now, are we talking like
a real good mindset heading into the show here?
Yeah. Well, this all came about. So today is National Cocktail Day and it's National Cheesesteak Day, and I'm like, oh man, because I'm a sucker for a good cheesesteak, and then it evolved into Mad Dog's frustration with the smash burger.
There was a bridge there.
You can't get.
I didn't just randomly just be like, what sucks?
We were talking about recruiting. I said, Phil, right now the Gamecocks are number 20. I tell you what, these damn smash burgers have ruined everything. Oh
yeah, we're all trying to figure out who 81 is, and I'm over here just hating on this new smash burger movement.
That's the other thing. If you weren't paying attention, JC, I gave Alex the task when he talks to Mike here in a half hour. I said, Mike Shula, not Mike Morgan. I said, when you talk to Shula, ask him, you tell him the boys at ITG asked, who the hell is number 81? 6'7", 260-pound walk-on tight end named Reno Rame? Sounds like a porn star. This guy's going to be a dude at South Carolina. He just joined the team last week. Reno Rame from Cincinnati,
there's been so
Ohio.
many guys like that through the years.
Who the hell is 81?
I actually listened to the whole show, and that's why I'm a little late joining you. I forgot to turn on my recording computer. So I was like, and then it took a while to boot up, but so we'll see what happens. But
Why? I hope what happens is it stays on. That's what we hope happens.
I hope so too. It sucked so bad on Friday. I just called the show off 40 minutes in.
Yeah, it was like done.
It was just like it was pointless to continue. But good show. Kind of felt bad about the baseball talk with Whittle. But there's a lot to be upset about with that program right now. Basketball portal's open right now.
Yeah.
Got some news up on some guys they may look.
Do you?
It's going to be a whole new roster next year, basically. So
that's what I think,
which is fine. I'm looking forward to the press conferences as well. So,
who the hell's 81?
Dude, there's more important things for Alex to ask. I actually texted him than that, but maybe he will ask it. Alex is a machine.
Well,
you just wind him up and he goes.
Well, I'm hoping he didn't actually take that like I truly meant it. I wasn't going to railroad the press conference with the walk-on tight end from Cincinnati, but
it'd be funny if you like came in like on a video conference call, like Tropic Thunder style. Like, hey, who's that? All right, I can't see anybody. All right, there we go. All right, Mike. Who in the hell is number 81?
That's what I'm saying.
He's just a dude playing a dude on another dude.
Like Les Grossman style, you know.
Reno Rame. He's been
That's
on
a good
campus.
name.
I mean, he
Reno
was here.
Rame.
He was a student in the fall. He showed up last week. Said, "Hey, coach, I can play." They're like,
"All right,
who the hell's 81?"
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find a picture of him out here from early spring.
They don't have a
practice.
picture.
I don't think they caught
This is-
one.
I'm
Yeah, he's a
telling you,
block C on the roster
This is the
here.
secret
so-
weapon.
Hey, here's the guy that is not going to play in the spring. Like, so here, if he's not playing in the spring game, then you know they're trying to hide him from potential eyes stealing him in the portal after just walking on. That's exactly what this is.
He also played lacrosse in high school. 6'7", 260-pounder out there running around with a lacrosse stick. And here's even more of a secret weapon. They're hiding this guy from the world. He hadn't even declared a major yet.
Oh, but listen, this guy might not even be real. This
Undeclared.
What is this? Undeclared 81.
He may not be real. Shane Beamer may be trying to play a trick on people.
But here's what it is. They brought him in because this guy looks like, apparently by his size could shoot, heat check threes. This guy might be a two-sport athlete, gentlemen.
Reno, I
He
googled.
can fill the Benjamin Bosman's Verdonk role.
Oh wait, we've got a picture.
Oh, we
And
do?
You know what? I'll be John Brown. He was number 18 in high school. He just flipped the numbers around here at South Carolina. This guy's a genius.
Listen,
Good
kid-
Lord, man. All right. Yeah. So,
So what are
Mike's
y'all
in
gonna
with us
talk about
today. We're going to talk about basketball and baseball with a little football mixed in, but basketball and baseball.
Don't let Mad
the
Dog
board-
railroad you with the depressing cheeseburger.
I don't understand this this smash burger thing. Phil, are you talking about like the brand smash burger, like the restaurant smash burger?
Oh,
or
no,
like
I
actual smash
didn't
burger?
even. Yeah, no, this
When you
whole
go-
because there's this movement in the burger industry right now for smashed burger. You see it at the fast casual Chili's, Applebee's. Everybody's got a smash burger now. Sonic's shoving it down your throat. And here's what it is. It's lazy because they're smashing the hell out of them. They're overcooking these burgers so that they get that little crisp on the outside, but there's no juice in it. And that's, I mean, you
I'm
got to
with
have
you, dude.
both. Like, and
Burger
I'm out.
fry is a big one.
Yeah,
patty
yeah.
consistency.
Mike,
Listen,
he wants the half pound, like the old school. Bring me the jar of ketchup with the big knife stuck through the burger. That's
I
what
want
he
a
wants.
big juicy burger.
I mean, that's what we all grew up on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Why get
Yeah,
away
you have a
from that?
cookout.
Yeah.
Your mom's in there pattying them up, and making
Yeah.
them perfect.
Yeah,
You put
steak
'em on
and
the
shake.
grill.
There's a
Yeah.
smash burger. Burger
Yeah, they
five.
did it
There's a
before it was
smash
cool.
burger. They
Yeah.
did do it before it's cool. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't mind it, but I'm big on like you said, juicy and texture. I don't
Yeah.
want my burger like a hockey puck. And sometimes you run into that, and like that's no bueno. I mean, far be it for me to mention a sponsor, but D's Wings does have a good burger. We talk about everything else they have on the menu.
They have a good burger.
And you make your own there. Like they don't just tell you how it's done. You kind of dictate what that burger is going to have on it. It's a good piece of meat. I think they put it on like an onion roll, so that's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
I love Five Guys. I know that's kind of cliche, and you do overpay, and they're grossly over. You would think they have like gold in their French fries for what they charge for a small fry. It's amazing, but I do like their burgers. What I don't understand, if you go into a Five Guys, how many things are on the menu? Like 5?
Yeah.
Burger, fry, onion ring. I think you
They
get a
have a
hot
hot
dog, but I don't
Yeah.
know anybody that gets a hot dog there. So when you walk in there, like, why do we literally have to start the burger from scratch and wait 20 minutes for the order? There's a line at 11:30 on. They're all ordering burgers. Can we not put them on the grill before you place the order?
That's their rules, though, Mike. You have to. Yeah, their rules are what makes it tasty.
But it would still be tasty. It's the same burger if you started on the grill before I walk in at rush hour, as opposed to like, oh, what a shocker! You're ordering a hamburger. Okay, now we can put it on the grill.
That's very good.
I thought you were going to go with the salmon, but you want a burger. Okay.
Hold on.
What, you don't want guac on toast? Oh, okay, a hamburger. Okay, another hamburger, Charlie. We know
that one's gonna have cheese.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is not rocket science. Just put them on the grill. There's going to be a mob of people from like 11:30 on. start putting them on.
Yeah. Well, you're not saving room on the grill for a shrimp po' boy, so
Yes.
let's get this going.
What, can I get a tofu burger? No, we don't serve that, sir.
That's
Can I
where
get chicken tenders? No, sir, we don't have those either.
That's where my long-running joke in my immediate family that I've expanded into other areas of food started. Like years ago, we sat around for 20 minutes. And I was like, "What did they have to go to the cattle farm? Like, what's going on back there?" And so now that's anytime we go to a restaurant, if it takes too long, like I might have ordered fried shrimp. I'm like, "What are they throwing a cast net?" Carrie's like, "It's enough." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, all right, it's National
that cow a little earlier.
Exactly. I mean, it's National Cocktail Day. Before I go, cocktail of choice today for Mike is some sort of bourbon. What brand?
Let's go Woodford Double Oaked.
Oh, very well done.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely. Had
JC?
plenty of those this weekend, actually.
Bush Light, JC.
Bush Light. I'll drink a Bloody Mary is about the only kind of cocktail I drink these days, but
it's a good one.
I like it spicy. I do.
Yeah.
Is ice a mixer?
It's ice a mixer.
It is in my book.
That's same.
That's a cocktail to me.
That's right. Yeah.
Just go with an old fashioned. How about that? All right. I've already ruined this program for y'all, so I'll step aside, and you three fine gentlemen enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
I should not have screamed in terror that fine day. Saw that purple wig and did not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, "Son, don't you know that clowns are people too?" Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese, but Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around all you Gamecocks. It's the show. The show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Inside the Gamecocks The Show, National Cocktail Day, as we were just discussing on the morning show. If you missed it, John Whittle joined to talk some baseball. Alex Jones was also in to give his thoughts on what he has seen early in spring football. We will be loaded here with Mike Morgan joining JC and myself with some baseball and hoops talk as well. Gentlemen, how are your brackets? Is a good way to start the conversation today, as I took a bath in round 2. This was not good, and I know JC did as well.
Yeah, I'm not doing too well. But.
I'm hanging in there.
Nice.
I had a couple upsets, including Colorado State to win one game.
I took 2. That was my bad.
Well, they almost had it.
I know.
If we still called a travel on a guy taking 3 steps. 3 giant steps, I might add.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys talked about that in the first 2 hours, but that's like one of the most controversial things being discussed post Sunday action is the fact that if you – and I didn't pick up on it in real time. I was watching that game live. But if you watch it back, it's 3 steps. Now, with Gene Steratore, kind of the rules expert, and I think Gene does a good job. And I've heard this argument a bit before. Well, that's kind of that first one's kind of a gather step, quote unquote. Look, here's the way to judge that. Had they called it a travel, do you think Gene Steratore would have said, no. Those 3 steps are justified because of the gather step. The officials missed that. No, he would have said that's a walk, and the officials got it right. The problem with these TV rules analysts, and I've worked with a few of them, they're good people. They know the rules. They can't help themselves looking after their own a little bit. They just don't want to throw their brethren under the bus. Like if I make a blatant mistake on something, whether it's on this show or JC and Morgan, JC can come in and just say, no, Mike, that was 1975, not 78. I'm cool with that. I'd rather it be corrected than me just go on and make the mistake. I mean, we're all human. I think it's fair to say we've all made our fair share of mistakes. Well, so do officials. So you're not doing them a favor by that. Now, I get it. It's a controversial play in that we have now morphed into this. What was a walk 10 years ago is not a walk. It started with the Euro step, but the Euro step, even though it kind of looks like a walk, is still 2 steps, not 3. This was blatantly 3 steps. Again, I had the team that benefited from this. I picked them to win in the bracket, so I was not exactly too worked up over it. But in my mind, that is a walk. And if they called it a walk, no rules expert would have said, no, that's not a walk. But to answer your first question, yeah, I said this would happen. It's exactly what happened the first couple days. The SEC fatigue and the SEC hate. I had my phone blowing up. I work with a producer at ESPN who, let's just say, is a little burnt out with all the SEC love. He doesn't care for the SEC. He's got no SEC ties. Blah, 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 blah. Enough of the SEC. And so after every SEC team lost, I'd get a text message. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3 eliminated. That's 4 eliminated. I was like, whoa. Nobody said all 14 teams were going to the Sweet 16. I told you there were like at least a half a dozen teams that I thought had no chance of winning 2 games. The only one that surprised me a little was Missouri. That's 2 times Dennis Gates had a squad that I thought was Sweet 16 talented that didn't get to the Sweet 16. But I didn't think Vandy was going far, or Georgia, or even A&M, who a lot of people loved, or Mississippi State. I could tell you every flaw in every one of those teams and why they would struggle. Now, I could also tell you that Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama are 4 of the best teams in the country, and I wouldn't want to play Chris Beard in Ole Miss in March because he's a damn good tournament coach who Texas wishes they still had. We'll see how they do with Sean Miller. So 7 out of 16 from the SEC. I'm sorry if you hate it. Keep on hating, guy. Like it is what it is. It's the best league in the country in yet another sport.
For right now, at least, it definitely is. I thought UConn would beat Florida because I thought that was kind of an unfair matchup. I thought, why, after Florida wins the SEC tournament and earns the number 1 seed, would you have them play that maniac and his team in the second round? I mean, Danny Hurley. I mean, I was on 107.5 last week, Tuesday mornings, and they were talking about Danny Hurley, and I kind of defended him. I was like, well, it probably sucks being Bobby's brother. You know, Bobby got to go to Duke. Danny went to Seton Hall. You know, I mean, Danny had to kind of work his way up, whereas Bobby, doesn't matter how many games he loses, he's still the coach at Arizona State in a garden spot with lots of talent, not basketball talent, around him in beautiful Tempe. You know, he's lost 113 games and only won 100, yet he still has a job. Whereas Danny's in the pressure cooker at UConn, where you're not only competing against the tradition and the expectation you're going to win it every single year, your administration's kind of weird about they keep flirting with other conferences. In basketball, it belongs in the Big East, but you have football there, and then you got to compete with the women's program as well. So I'd be in a bad mood too if I were him compared to his brother. You know, and so I defended him. But he's a psychopath. I mean, I was like, you know, I'm like, man, you milked every bit of goodness out of a team that, you know, sometimes your team takes a step back, right? It happens. You milked every bit of this you could. You should have beaten the Gators, you know, because my feeling was Gators are kind of a Johnny-come-lately. It's been a while since Billy Donovan walked through that door. I think, gosh, it's been since 17 since they've advanced, I think, this far in the tournament, Florida. And that was the year they lost to South Carolina in the Elite Eight with Mike White. Well, Mike White was the coach there. But, man, they're really good. But sometimes teams that have not been there in a while play the team that's the tournament tough, 2-time defending national champs, and they lose, and they almost did. But his yelling like he was drunk and getting escorted out of a bar after the thing, throwing F-bombs, and I'm like, I trust me, Scott Drew does not care about your F-bombs, dude.
No.
You know, stop. I just and look, the referees probably were bad. What else is new? It's college basketball. There's one ref out there that, you know, has to walk to the scorer's table to figure out what he calls when he blows the whistle. That's documented. He's considered one of the best referees in the game. So, hey, you're not really dealing with the high standards around here. Why would you expect anything different in the tournament? But, yeah, that guy's a psychopath. But Florida did make it. Not surprised A&M got put out by Michigan. It kind of seems to be A&M's thing. Second round. Surprised Buzz Williams didn't get a sniff at the Indiana job, if I'm being honest. You know, Ole Miss, I should have known better because I had North Carolina. Again, it's that theory of teams that haven't been there, but I completely forgot, Mike, about the Chris Beard factor there. Just dismissed it. Just
hell of a coach.
Didn't think about it. Yeah, especially in the tournament. I mean, dude took a bunch of transfers and before there was a portal and took Texas Tech to the finals. Texas Tech's got a good team again this year, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not, you know, Auburn had to play Louisville. That could have been problematic, but they didn't because Creighton took care of Louisville and some idiot threw a bottle on the floor in that one. That was stupid. But yeah, you know, all in all, I mean, the SEC dominant showed up. Yeah, and who cares? Oklahoma gets beat in the first round by who did they had to play UConn?
Yeah, Oklahoma, but they weren't a very good team all year long. They were
Georgia,
just good enough to get in, but that doesn't mean you're good enough to go far.
Georgia played Gonzaga. I mean,
total mismatch.
I'm sorry, is it Gonzaga? Because Kelvin Sampson's an asshole too.
It is.
I'm
Gonzaga.
done with him. That poor reporter mispronouncing Gonzaga. Who gives Kelvin? Get past the Sweet 16 for a change. I'm about to get a text from Strickland outlining the success of the Houston Cougars.
Yes,
but I was like, I mean, and he was like offended by it. I'm like, man, that's easy to mispronounce. I mean, do you pronounce everything correctly in your life? When you were making those 127 illegal phone calls and got fired from Indiana, every time you called up a prospect, were you pronouncing his name perfectly, Kelvin?
Perfect elocution. I'm sure.
I'm like, come on, quit showing your butt. I mean, and look, I'm the last person to stand up for the media, right? I take all the shots you want at it, but don't be the pronunciation police in the press conference when you've had 3 or 4 national championship teams that hadn't won a dang one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're 79 years old, and I know it's past your bedtime, but stop. Just stop. So yeah, some of these basketball coaches just pissed me off. The one that didn't was John Calipari. Even though he eliminated St. John's, who I picked to go and who I was pulling for. Look, here's the thing about that. I think that Arkansas, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say slept Mike through the regular season, but we've seen teams like this before, haven't we? They've got all these McDonald's All-America guys, got all this talent. They do just good enough to get in. And hell, we saw it in football with Ohio State. And then they turn on a switch, and turns out they're pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I they were never 0-5 bad, even though that's what their record said. And it took them a while to kind of figure it out and get healthy. But keep in mind, so in my household, again, I am married to someone who is going through a lot of mixed emotions right now, and this is Kentucky fans in general. And I tried to think in my mind a South Carolina equivalent. You really don't have one. I guess the closest thing is if Brad Scott was actually worth a damn and brought South Carolina a national title and went to 4 BCS bowl games, but then started losing a lot, relatively speaking, and then the fans wanted him out, and so they're like, can we get rid of this guy? And instead of you firing him, he just said, okay, you know what, I'll take another job in the SEC. I'll go to Ole Miss. And then Brad goes to Ole Miss, and then South Carolina fans are kind of happy because they wanted to get rid of Brad Scott anyway, and they brought in this new coach who's not established per se. But again, I know the animosity for Brad Scott. So this is not a great example. But my wife loved Cal. Cal is extremely charming. I can tell you, Cal can charm anybody. So even when things were going south, and they did go south in a hurry, and Cal was saying things like, well, yeah, we lost another first-round game, but did I tell you how many billions of dollars my former players make in the NBA? Not what you say. Not good. But still, a lot of people still like Cal. And then there's the other camp that hate him and are so glad that he's gone, but they want him to fail at Arkansas. Just as I think Carolina fans wanted Brad Scott. Brad was never going to get another head coaching job. But no matter where he did, they would want him to fail. Like, they were just so like, screw you, Scott. Screw you and your fat Heinz ketchup commercials and everything. You're get out of here. I hope you lose every damn game at whatever school you go to. So there's a big faction of that going on. So some Kentucky fans, instead of being elated about going to the Sweet 16, something Cal hadn't done since 2019, are they're more upset than they are happy because Cal has taken Arkansas to the Sweet 16. It's like, why in the hell couldn't you have done this the last 5 years in election? It's a weird dynamic going on.
Did they not look at the guy that was coaching against Cal? I mean, that guy went to Louisville. I mean, did they not have any animosity there at all? I mean,
Right.
this Cal thing is not new and unique to Kentucky basketball.
Yeah.
Eddie Sutton also coached after he left Kentucky and went to
Mhm.
Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State, right? Is that where he went?
That's right.
But that's kind of Oklahoma State. Nobody. I mean, Louisville's right down the road. This is your rival, and then Arkansas and Kentucky have had some. Those used to be the top two programs in the SEC. Speaking of when Pitino was at Kentucky, it was Nolan Richardson at Arkansas. Then Pitino's Kentucky kind of ascended, or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting.
I have a better example. Okay, give me a mulligan
Give me
on
another
Brad
example.
Scott. Okay,
Yeah.
because
Good job.
Brad didn't do much.
We don't need
good.
to mention him.
I know. All
Because
right.
this ain't no candy catch up, Mike.
Amen. Very nice. Very nice. Well, when he did that, Maurice's barbecue was the other one, right?
Oh God!
Yeah.
Talk about awkward commercials.
Talk about awkward.
You had old Maurice there. Oh,
Yeah.
Brad, my
Hey,
barbecue.
Brad. How about
I
them
love
cute?
this barbecue, Maurice guy. Come on.
So,
man.
all right, try this on for size. Ray Tanner wins the back-to-back national championships, goes to Omaha in 2012. Let's just say had Ray kept coaching, there would have been a drop-off in the program. Okay? Not exactly unfathomable. You lose all those key players, special group of kids. And all of a sudden, instead of going to Omaha, Ray spends the next 5 years getting bounced in the regionals, first round of the SEC tournament, doesn't do a particularly good job of beating Clemson, and the fans are getting on Ray, which they did anyway before the two national titles.
Yep.
And Ray leaves, and he takes the job. He replaces Dave Van Horn, who retires and wants to play golf and fish at Arkansas. Do Gamecock fans take joy in every failure that Ray has at Arkansas? Do they root against him religiously? Or do they say, you know what? I still like that guy. He brought us to somewhere that no other coach has ever done in the history of Gamecock athletics. I didn't want him to leave, but it was best for both parties. We got our coach now, and we're happy with our new coach, and we wish him well, except when we play him head-to-head. What do you think the reaction would be there? Or would it be, screw you, Tanner? You took another SEC. I might have wanted you fired, but I didn't say you could go take another SEC job. I hate you, and I hope you lose every game.
Knowing the Carolina baseball fan base, they're probably sitting there like, yeah, well, he wasn't worth a damn anyway. Because
He wasn't worth a damn
Yeah, that's
anyway.
like recency. It's like, oh, he's not worth a damn. He couldn't get back.
Well, that is what is going on with the Kentucky. It's like a dichotomy that cannot be resolved. But anyway, Mark Pope has done a phenomenal job. Again, there's certain teams you just watch, things that I look for, the way they pass and distribute the ball, the shot selection. Kentucky and Florida as good as anybody right now doing that out of the SEC. Not Cal's Arkansas team, not necessarily some of the other teams that have gone far, but Mark Pope can flat out coach. He's doing that with a group of kids. The transfer from Oklahoma, the Owe kid, was obviously huge, but they don't have a bunch of like five-star. This is not a Kentucky roster. And a lot of these, one of the kids should be playing at South Carolina and would be had Cal stayed at Kentucky. The Noah kid, you don't think he would have helped contribute to Lamont Paris's team this year? Good Lord. Yeah, he's out there playing in NCAA tournament games, hitting shots now, but they're not like, these aren't blue chip kids, and they're winning. So I think that's been a great story as well.
Oh, there's not a lot of blue chip kids if you look at the All SEC. I broke that down today because, frankly, that's not the way to win anymore in college basketball. If you look at the 15 All SEC players, 6 of them are mid-major transfers. The ones out of high school, only 2. One's was a 5-star, 2 or 3 are 3 stars. Like Ziegler from Tennessee, Rick Barnes found him up in New York, 3-star guy,
right?
5'9" point guard, right?
Yep.
So yeah, speaking of Tennessee and Kentucky, dude, they used to play the football series for the beer barrel, and they quit giving the beer barrel away in '99. I guess they became a little too PC, but it's one of those games that is important, but not really a rivalry. But in basketball, They've played for years, and they play in the
time.
Sweet 16, man.
Yeah,
So
that's all. Kentucky people hate Tennessee people. That's a you talk about underrated rivalries all the time, JC. That is one of them.
Well, it makes sense if you ever make the drive, up from Knoxville to Lexington. You go through Eastern Rock. You go through a town called Rocky Top. Actually, there is Mike knows there is a place called Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
outside of Knoxville.
Yep.
And get all the way up through the coal miner area of Kentucky, and then into Lexington up 75. And yeah, I can see where it get really interesting. Well, Mike, take us out of here. Tell us about one of our friends.
Hey, so here we are, March 24th. We're inching closer and closer to another Tartan Day extravaganza. It'll be the 12th annual Tartan Day South Celtic Festival right there in Columbia, the Highland Games, all types of great events. Just a good place to go and have a few cool ones, too, by the way. Good eats as well. It starts Thursday the 3rd at Steel Hands Brewing, Friday the 4th at Ice House Amphitheater, and then Saturday the main event at the historic Columbia Speedway in Casey. For more information, go visit tartandaysouth.com. Tickets are just $20 for adults, free for kids 12 and under. Great time for the family, something a little bit different. Obviously, if you got some Scottish in you, well, this makes all the sense in the world, but you don't have to have a good time and try something different. There's some athletes, some different kind of athletes. The J.C. Sherbert brand of athlete is performing in this. I can tell you that right now. J.C., you would excel in some of these events.
Would you like to see him crush me like a worm?
Yes.
I can crush you. Best of manhood.
Yes, please do.
Give me that axe on through this shillelagh. Anyway,
Look, if it's not Scottish, it's crap. That was Mike Myers' SNL skit.
Man.
That's right. Phil Guy.
That's not Scottish. It's crap.
Then you open up the door, the bagpipes would play. Welcome to everything Scottish. If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Bay City Rollers.
I saw a married expert. SATURDAY. Night. All right. We'll be back after these messages inside the Gamecocks The Show.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
The season rolls on at Love Chevrolet, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. Rev up your spring with Love's exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys on the lot now and ready to go. Spring-tacular savings at Love Chevrolet. We're talking the best selection of new Chevys, the lowest price, guaranteed. In fact, they'll beat any competitor's price or give you $1,000. The other dealers upsell, overcharge, and will say most anything to get the sale. At Love Chevrolet, satisfied customers do all the talking, and they say things like helpful, honest, and fun. Your trusted hometown Chevy dealer since 1961, Love Chevrolet. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Looking at some winners from over the weekend. We got softball winning the series against Texas Tech. Of course, that game was abruptly cut off with a travel time hard out in the coincidentally in the top of the seventh inning after Texas Tech had just taken the lead, denying the Gamecocks their ability to walk off win, but that's all right. 2 out of 3. And of course, the women's basketball team handled business at the CLA over the weekend, winning both of their first round games to advance to, is this the 11th or 11th straight Sweet 16, if I recall. But Indiana gave them a little run there early, but South Carolina's depth prevailed, and they were able to come out on top right in front of the home crowds for a nice send-off into the next round of the NCAA tournament for the women. Now, gentlemen, not so good diamond news. South Carolina. Yeah.
I think all I got to say about that little intro feels, South Carolina's good at women's sports. All right, let's talk baseball.
That's right.
I don't.
Not so good diamond
news. Everybody I know is happy the softball team won, and but nobody's like taking solace in that. I mean,
no.
I wasn't saying you were saying it.
No. Yeah.
I got up this morning and I was like, I don't care. Yeah, because I have to kind of recap on coffee. I recap the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I could just feel fans like, I don't care, But no, on women's basketball specifically, Indiana, if you notice last season, they gave the Gamecocks a little bit of a trouble. Oh, yeah. They're a tough out, and that was a tough second round draw. But on to the Sweet 16. What's interesting is if Alabama beats Maryland, they'll be playing Alabama in Birmingham. Now, they took care of Alabama and Tuscaloosa earlier this year, but Alabama's got a pretty good women's basketball team. And I would imagine Alabama would have a crowd show up for that as well, just because they had a crowd show up when Carolina came to Tuscaloosa earlier this year. So that might not be the easiest thing in the world, but certainly that. Then that softball thing was just weird. Still weird. I mean, I know. They're just going to end the game in the middle of the seventh inning. Oh, all right.
I know, and it's not like they moved the start time of that game. That's again to accommodate. They just didn't plan their travel appropriately. Apparently, I don't know. Whatever.
They probably should have moved it, but anyway, Mike. Here's some interesting things. First of all, before we get to this, the Ernie.com March Madness Challenge. Just want to let everyone know South Carolina's in first place for the Ernie Cup with 1,087 points. Number 2 is West Virginia at 815. Number 3, Auburn, 625. Number 4, Maryland, 425. Number 5, Florida, 278. So I do want to say congratulations to all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you filled out some great brackets. So South Carolina could win the Ernie Cup. Dun, 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 dun. So
do we know individually that whoever's in first, are they part of the South Carolina group?
Not that I can tell.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I have to get them to send me that breakdown. They don't have it on their site, but I will get that and pass it forward. But as a team, South Carolina's doing pretty well. How about that? So
How about
there's
that?
something
How
good
about
going on in March. Baseball disappointing this weekend. I'm frustrated watching these guys. My big takeaway is that they're not very good. They don't have a lot of very good players. The players that are supposed to be good are either not playing well right now, or they're injured, or just not doing it. This team hits into double plays at bad times over. I've never seen a team do like this. And I watched the White Sox last year. They lost 121 games. There's no clutch hitting, hardly at all. It's a good day when they string together a couple base hits and get a couple of runs across. And that's just at the plate. Pitching, it's feast or famine. Inevitably, there's going to be a terrible inning, not just a bad inning, a terrible inning. Sometimes that comes in the first inning, and everybody's misery is, he puts you out of your misery early, or it'll come, at the worst time when you're actually in a game. I'm not trying to be, Kreger mentioned in the Nana Sports chat box, the infield pop outs. Yeah. Yesterday, bases loaded in a 4-4 game. It's third ranked team in the country, 2 straight infield pop ups. I don't know what's going on as far as, some of the errors that are being made in the field. This is supposed to be a very good fielding team. I listened to Whittle's segment earlier. I actually, kind of digging into it. There are players like Nolan Naraki, who is supposed to be a top 3 round pick in the draft. The pros seem to be like, he's not even playing and he's injured. Henry Kazmar is supposed to be much better, and he's not even playing a lot, maybe because of defense. They're in some trouble. I don't want to say it's over because, I think the SEC obviously is brutal, but I will point out that there are 6 teams right now, Florida A&M, Missouri, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Kentucky, that are combined 4-32 in the league, including Florida A&M and Missouri that are 0 at 0-6. A&M, Florida they're both on the schedule. Mississippi State's on the schedule. Kentucky's on the schedule. So all those teams bunched in there with Carolina are on the schedule. But Mike, you talk about this all the time, brother. Jimmy's and Joe's.
Yeah.
And I do think in baseball, guys can grow, guys can get better, and guys can go through slumps. Don't get me wrong. There's probably a chance some of these guys are better than they've played. There's a chance some of them are worse. Baseball goes up and down, but I mean, we are 25 games in, and against the teams, i.e. the SEC and Clemson. I mean, this team's 1-8, and a lot of these games have not even been competitive.
Yeah.
Arkansas was competitive for 6-7 innings yesterday, and then the floodgates opened. So I think there's massive concern right now with Carolina baseball. And I'm going to say not just this year, but moving forward. I just have a bad feeling about this program. Maybe it's just me. I'm not emotional about it. I've watched this for 25 games and I just don't like what I see.
I'm not going to push back on hardly anything you said, other than maybe the last thing, which is I'm not concerned about 2026 at this point, because I know how quickly they can get players that, quite frankly, would be an upgrade. And we've talked about this a number of times. My expectation level was very tempered with this team. I don't care who was coaching it, just based on the roster. And when you do make a coaching change, I'm sure somebody can find me an example of an SEC coach that replaced a fired coach and just lit it up in year one. But off the top of my head, I can't think of many. There's just not many out there, particularly in this day and age where coaching change is going to turn over the overwhelming majority of your roster. And so when I stack it up, as I always do, against the rest of the league, people were talking about the gaudy numbers going 9-0 against this mid-major and that mid-major. I don't care about that. I don't even look at that. What I looked at was the numbers against Clemson and the 9 conference games. I don't have the numbers against Clemson in front of me, but JC, the numbers in SEC play which the team is 1-5, should be 2-4. It was a complete meltdown on the infield. We all know in the last game against Oklahoma, I watched that live, and I'm just sitting there going, what in the hell? The staff ERA in SEC play is just under 8. It's 7.87. That ain't going to get it. That ain't going to get it done. And the number that I look at more than batting average offensively is OPS. And I know if I spit out an OPS, that's not going to mean much to anybody. But let me just say slugging percentage is .418. That ain't getting it done. So if you wanted to find two numbers that kind of just that display where this team is against quality competition, and weekend after weekend, you're going to have quality competition in the league. It just doesn't stack up. It just doesn't. Now, you mentioned some other premier programs that are fighting it right now. So it's not just Carolina. But if you don't have a complete team and you don't have a dude on Friday night and you don't have a lineup where, I mean, I'm happy with Ethan Petrie to some extent, but he's pretty easy to pitch around. You know, he's got no homers and 2 ribbies in conference play. Well, why is that? Well, I said this all along. One of the most important guys on this roster was going to be Kennedy Jones. And what I was told was, you don't got to worry about Kennedy Jones. He's a stud. Kennedy Jones is in 286, and he's driven in 3 runs. So Petrie, everybody knows, is a dude and a half. But why am I going to pitch to him unless I don't have to? Because there's nobody else in this lineup that scares me. So it's just the same thing. Like I understand where some of the fans are, and you kind of I think your comments, JC, represented where a lot of the fan base is. It's going to be a tough road to hoe the rest of the way. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But I do think next year this roster is going to look a lot different, and I think Paul Maneri will have a little bit more to work with.
Yeah, I mean, he was behind it a little bit when he got here, and they did miss out on a couple of guys in the portal that, weren't interested until the coaching change, and then we're not. So I was more frustrated by dropping that Sunday game against Oklahoma.
Well, that's the one,
right? Yeah. I mean, because the way that all went down was just completely on the team, right? That's on you. It didn't matter what dudes you've got and all of that. These are not necessarily routine plays, but plays that need to be made.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And by the way, Krager on Chat Row, that's a good one, Craig. That's, like I said, I know there's one or two out there. I think it's exception of the rule. But yeah, Wes Johnson came into Athens. That program was kind of petering out. The last coach who they got from the MAC took a MAC team to the World Series, took Kent State to Omaha. But for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. But he's done a great job early on in Athens, no doubt.
Yeah, and and look, this is the first time there's been a first-year head coach here with this program in the portal era. But I don't really see who they. I mean, they lost some guys at the draft like Messina,
right,
and those guys. But did they really miss? Did they really lose anybody that's somewhere else balling?
No, I mean they weren't immensely talented last year either.
Yeah,
no,
they were a regional team. That's they did lose their pitchers. They
lost their staff. I mean, their top arms for the most part, and they lost Messina. Now, if you put Messina and Petrie back to back, well, now I can't pitch around Petrie.
I know they're just pitching completely around him.
I got to throw him some fastballs on a 2-strike count, and like that's a different result.
And to his credit, Ethan's actually better this year than as far as being selective and taking. He'll take another. I mean, he'll get base hits, but they do nothing with it because there's nothing behind him or in front of him. It's sad.
Yeah.
And then there's guys like Dalton Mayshore and Henry Casbar that were supposed to be good that aren't. Nathan Hall's at the top of the order. I don't know that I wouldn't consider dropping him down and pitching, putting him either in front of Petrie or behind him.
He's been really good.
You just have no chance, with these guys. I mean, put Jordan Carrion in the leadoff. I don't know. I don't know enough about baseball.
Well, you know plenty, and what you're saying is all practical and logical. This is what I always go back to, and I've said this on this show after the Clemson series, just kind of looking at where this lineup is and kind of getting a feel what I think it's going to be. And I called games for a couple of these teams. Now, they were still good enough where they could get into the postseason, but like the 2003 team, not a great hitting team. The 2005 team, that lost Landon Powell, that lost Kevin Malillo, you had Steve Pierce, and then you had just not a ton. And Ray's like any other coach, you're going to try to keep mixing up the lineup, right? I know what it is. And you start playing that game of Jenga. And I'll take this guy out of the leadoff spot and I'll put him in the 8 hole, and I'll take this guy out of the 9 hole and I'll put him at the leadoff spot, and I'll flip flop. And I know what I'll do. I'll put Petrie. Hell, I'll go against the book and I'll put Petrie. I'll bat him leadoff. Speed's overrated anyway. At the end of the day, if you got 9 guys that aren't a great hitting team against elite pitching competition, there's just not a whole hell of a lot you can do. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is the standings are interesting to me because I have a sneaky, unlike South Carolina, I have a sneaky suspicion that Florida and A&M are good enough to where they can turn it around. Now, Whittle made a good point today, and I agree with him. A&M, Whittle, his quote was, Texas A&M has a coach that was installed by their players.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. All those guys off that team last year were like, we'll stay if you give it to the assistant, everybody's buddy, who did not go with Schlossnagel. And they're just not, they're talented. They're just not playing well. Carolina's got to go out there. But I know that A&M's got ball players. Now, they do have an injury that hurt them. I know Florida has ball players. Florida struggled to even make the tournament last year and went all the way to Omaha, right? They were one of the last ones in. They win their regional. I think they went to Texas Tech or Oklahoma State or somewhere and won it. Then they went to Clemson and put Clemson out. And Jack Leggett almost got arrested for assault. But that was infamously came out of the dugout. But O'Sullivan went up there and won. And then I think they won a couple of games at Omaha, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember them saying, this is going to be O'Sullivan's best team coming back. And look, they're 0-6. I think Missouri's, as bad as South Carolina's prospects are, I think Missouri's probably a little worse. They have a losing overall record, which means
they've just been bad.
They lost to some teams that
they're out of the same category in terms of program as Carolina.
And I didn't think Kentucky was going to catch lightning in a bottle 2 years in a row. I think they're good, but they're still 2-4. Mississippi State continues to kind of scuffle after winning the national title. So there are teams with bad records. I just, and I watch Carolina more than anything. I just wonder what the solution is, because it seems to guys, every time somebody gets going, like Jordan Carrion got going, and then he can't they can't string it together and turn it into anything. Well, then he's down. Well, then Kazmar is hitting 418 in league play. He was a 350 hitter at Ohio State last year.
471.
Yeah. 470. So he's supposed to be rocking and rolling, right? But his defense leaves him, and so they start. So they start Tippett yesterday. Mm-hmm. Tippett has a 2 RBI double, but then he's one of the pop-up kings, that came up with a chance to take the lead in the top of the 8th or top of the 7th. Gets number 3 team in the country. You battled back, and you pop it straight up in the air on the first pitch. Yeah. I understand like Bo Hollins and KJ Scobie they're freshmen, freshmen.
I think Scobie's going to be a good player.
Oh, Scobie has really impressed. Like, there are a couple of bright spots on the team, and that guy is good. Yeah.
And I think, Bo Hollins going yard the other day is good. They're really optimistic on Bo, and I am too. He's Dave Hollins' son, one of the GOATs. Right? Remember Dave?
Yeah.
Everybody in here remember that Dave Hollins played at Carolina.
Great Philadelphia Philly for a lot of years.
Yeah. So there and somebody mentioned in the chat box Eli Jersenbeck. And that everybody's kind of wondering, why is Jersenbeck struggling during the preseason, because he was not even going to be in the rotation. Well, come to find out, he was hurt. And he's again, so there's your potential Friday night guy with Friday night stuff.
And that's massive. You know, it's not like the Braves and you call up a guy from AAA Gwinnett or you make a trade because you got to fill you don't fill that void in college. It's a void. You lose your Friday night guy, it doesn't get replaced. And most colleges don't do it, but particularly a program that is still making a transition with a coaching change that's going to have to get an influx of more talent. And so what do you have? Well, in SEC play, Brandon Stone started 2 games, ERA of 9. Evans has started a game in league play, ERA of 6. McCoy has started 2 games in league play, ERA of 12.71. And Eskew has started 1 game in league play. He lasted 4 1/3, but he only gave up a run. But, I mean, they're just not – in other words, knowing what we knew, at least I think most of us thought, I was certainly on record saying, this is not going to be an offense that's going to blow the doors off of SEC pitching. So you can win games, much like the 2 teams I referenced in Carolina past, without a dominating lineup if you got great starting pitching. And if you go to the mound every day and mine is better than yours, but that's just not what this team is. And so how are you going to win games? It's going to be tough. Now they're going to win games and they might win a series or 2. I'm not giving up on the season as a whole, but I do know that in a lot of these matchups coming up where you see those SEC teams and you see a little number next to them, it's typically in the top 10 or top 20, you're going to be the underdog because their Jimmies and Joes are going to be better than yours.
And that starts this weekend, folks. The Vols come to town. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, right. It's like there is no breather here.
Hey, let me just point this out, then. There was a time in 2022 in November when the Vols were coming to town and they were on a roll and putting up big numbers on people. It was another sport. And the Gamecocks took it to them pretty good. So don't give up yet. But, hey, if Carolina, like Whittle said earlier, they get in a position to win one of those games and they have to blow Jarvis, who's going to be their Sunday starter most likely, just to get out of an inning and win it, I'd do it. Because your chances of winning that series are slim. A 1-8 hole looks likely. 2-7 maybe looks a little better, and then it lightens up a little bit, I believe. Phil, don't they go to Mississippi State after that? Not an easy place to play, but not a super-duper good team.
No, right, yeah, but they're not traditionally good. Yeah, no, I think it is. Oh, I'm pulling it up now.
So
yeah, but Moorhead.
Missouri's not on the schedule this year. See,
Mississippi State, and then at A&M. You got 2 road series back to back. Yeah, with A&M, will probably find themselves on April.
Oh, they 10th. Are. Yeah, there's no question. I'm not looking at that as any kind of potential win. I think that, unfortunately, I wish it was Missouri and Oklahoma who they started with. They'd be 4-2, and everybody like, hell yeah, Maneri, woo.
Yeah. It just it's a tall task to get back on track, but you can't just throw the season out. I mean, what you did in the non-conference, at least from a win-loss standpoint, is keeping you up in the RPI. Now you start dropping more of these conference games, then you're going to fall right out of that. But right now,
24 more to go, Phil.
Yeah, you just need to you just need to continue to don't get swept on the road like you did this past weekend.
What about getting swept at home?
And and avoid the sweep at home with the number 1 team in the land coming in this weekend. Although, hey, listen, Tennessee is beatable. We've seen. But the pitching rotation is going to be interesting with the whole freaking SQ getting dinged and batting practice.
What the hell was up with that?
The hell? Yeah, I have no idea.
He got hit in the head by a home run ball during batting practice.
Yes.
This comes on the heels of the wind blowing that ball over the fence for the kid from Oklahoma.
Right, yeah.
It hit the ball with all his might.
Yeah.
And the wind comes in and carries it over the fence.
It may put SQ back into the Friday night role, which I think if you're looking at this staff is the guy that you want in that spot.
He's only given up 2 runs all year. I mean, he puts people on base like he's selling flapjacks.
Yeah, free bags are his issue, but he's got he's got the stuff to work his way out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that some of these guys are getting behind and don't have the tools to climb back in it. Right. Yeah. So,
all right, Mike, tell us about another one of our friends. And then
before I get out of here, sounds like we're in a Motley Crue concert here with the background. Golden Gate Mortgage, Troy Branham, the man with the plan for all your refi and new mortgage needs. Rates have come down a tick. They might be coming down more. Troy will help you navigate through those difficult waters and save you a lot of money. Been serving South Carolinians for nearly 3 decades, lifelong Gamecock fan and season ticket holder. Locally owned and operated. That's key. That is key. We like the locally owned and operated businesses like a Golden Gate Mortgage and like a Troy Branham. So here's the number. Put it on your fridge. Remember it. Type it in your phone. Whatever you got to do to remember it. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. Troy Branham and Golden Gate Mortgage. Guys, enjoyed it. Let you run through another hour like a hot knife through butter.
Amen.
Yes,
Mike,
sir.
take it easy, buddy.
All right, bud. Be well.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Mike.
All right. We'll be back after this.
You don't have to be Scottish to enjoy South Carolina's most unique family festival, a celebration of Celtic culture. Tartan Day South, built by Culpeper Wood. Experience adventure, Highland games, music, dancing, animals, crafts, rides, a car show, and a parade. Kick off your weekend with a Celtic concert on Friday and a full day of affordable fun and festivities on Saturday at the historic Columbia Speedway. April 3rd through 5th. Get your tickets and more information at tartandaysouth.com. Your first visit won't be your last.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, The Show.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
All right, we are back inside the Gamecocks The Show. Here's second hour of the show firing up now. Mad Dog, JC, in with you here to get you through the final hour here on a Monday to open things up. I had something I was going to do, and then I got distracted by the chat box, which is great.
No.
Yeah, there you go, chat box. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank Mike Morgan for coming in.
Yeah,
That's
man.
about all the baseball we'll talk today. I'm just, you know what? I'm concerned, and
It is. It's frustrating.
And here feels something I pointed out, and I've said this before, I think on this show and also on Coffee. I feel bad for the fan base, and I'll tell you why. So everybody's probably like, well, from the outside, everybody's probably like, well, gosh, football went so well this year, and it was a surprise to those on the outside. I'm like, that's why you're on the outside, frankly. And you got Lenore Sellers coming back, and everybody's got you in the top 10, and it's a football school, and I agree with all those things. But if you think about it, it's kind of the calendar, Phil, if you think about it, because everybody got way too miserable about last football season, like the 5-7 year under Beamer, probably because expectations were higher. Nobody wanted to hear anything about injuries, which was, I mean, those were facts. I don't know why people were disputing facts, but all of a sudden Beamer was a terrible coach and some wanted him fired and all this other crap. And we'll never win, blah, 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 blah. Woe is me. And I get it. That happens whenever there's a football season that has disappointment. Basketball made him feel a little better. And then the coaching search in baseball, it was what it was. Looked promising on paper. I mean, this was a regional team last year. And that's what everybody said was this was not totally broken. Well, you tell me.
Yeah, right.
So, but I get it. But if you think about football season and how it unfolded, South Carolina didn't really get on a roll until November. Like the Gamecocks were sitting at 4-3 with a nice win at Oklahoma, but we all know Oklahoma's bad. If you listen to the show, you knew they were going to be bad in the offseason.
Right.
Right. And,
a lot of question marks surrounding Oklahoma football coming into the year. Yeah.
2 gut-wrenching losses to Alabama and LSU. And then Carolina turns it around. They start go right on through to beat. It was a whirlwind. Well, then they lost the bowl game. Right.
Yep.
And the bowl, look, there's plenty of schools that have lost bowl games it doesn't affect you till the next year, but that's a loss. Basketball goes in the tank. And now baseball's off to the start. It's off too. So if you think about this, since the North Carolina game in 2023, since that fateful day in Charlotte, the Gamecock fans have really only had 1 month to feel really good about performance on the field slash court, as it relates to getting that bad taste out of their mouth. Now, you may say, well, what about last basketball season, JC? Yeah, it was great, but that didn't get rid of and baseball season got to the tournament, but those things don't eliminate a bad football season, right?
No. But I mean, basketball was just out of nowhere, right? It was like, oh, wow, look at this. Wow, this team's doing it, And then baseball, on the other hand, while they did make the postseason, there was a cloud hanging over it, right? I mean,
they weren't as good as they could have been.
Right, it's just this cloud
that's
hanging
the thing.
over the season.
And so I just think, people have really only had 1 month to kind of feel good, about.
But it was one hell of a November to remember, man.
It was great. But I'll say this, and I think too with basketball, the disappointment this year, had Carolina had a season kind of like Texas or Oklahoma, where they made the tournament, and took advantage of instead of being in this big tough league like the SEC, it kind of like they kind of rode on to the SEC's coattails and went in and got one and done. And you knew this team wasn't really all that good, but they still made it because the schedule was tough and they won some big games. You didn't expect them to advance. I mean, everybody would have been fine. And if baseball was just competitive right now, I think they would be fine.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of it. You've had 1 month. So, and the rest of it's been like this nightmare of a struggle, with the exception of last men's basketball season, which even then, when it got to the chance to win the SEC,
right,
Carolina couldn't beat Tennessee at home, which I didn't expect them to be honest. And then the NCAA tournament was kind of a bummer. Well, like it always is. Yeah. But look, man, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think it's just I understand why fans are kind of like, what's going on here? Because it wasn't like this big, long, great football season. It was 1 month. And we don't think about it in terms of time, but if you think about time and how that affects people. So I get it. But The good news on the basketball court, Phil, is the transfer portal is open today.
It is. It is.
I put some reports up on the Big Spur. Whittle's got some stuff up on the Big Spur right now. I expect, I anticipate, and this could be announced sometime today, Nick Pringle entering the portal. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think anybody's terribly worried about it. Cam Scott, I think it's up in the air if he comes back or not. We know Zach Davis is already in the portal. Arden Conyers is already in the portal. Tyler Hero is already in the portal. Remember, you've got 4 coming in as far as next season goes. So, and there's 15 roster spots. So when you're trying to kind of figure it all out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we put it at like 4, maybe 5 retained.
No, I don't. Well, some of it depends, Phil. Like some of it depends on like if Studi gets his.
Yeah, we were kind of counting Studi in, even though it's up to the NCAA. Hopefully they don't do anything slowly, this is one that they should get right in that,
Yeah.
He should get the exemption, the 1-year exemption. And then, and of course we were not factoring in CMB whatsoever because there's just no way of putting any numbers on that right now today.
I know people are confident about it, but unless it's a surprise and he's not a high pick, I mean, you're not going to turn. I mean, he could make good money coming back to South Carolina. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but dude, I mean, basketball money is so stupid good. I mean, it's ridiculous. The NBA just pays so well if you're a high enough pick. If you're not, and you have to split time and go to the G League, all that. Maybe not so much, but it is a stupid good bunch of money especially if you're a lottery pick, man.
Yeah, and the key now for the NBA after the last CBA is you want to get to that second contract as quickly as possible.
Yes,
and that is a big draw for some of these guys who are kind of on the fringe of the lottery, even if they are still in the first round. You just at least you get 1 year under you and you're 1 year closer to that second contract. Exactly. But we'll see. I mean, I just, I kind of thought Conyers might hang around. I thought he was a good piece for next year, but that didn't pan out. And Cam Scott, I mean, we didn't see anything from Cam Scott on the floor this year to indicate any sort of reciprocal value for what it was that took to draw him to Carolina. So
I think Cam Scott himself realizes he has work to do.
Right. Yeah. I would hope that he does.
I think he does, but I don't know necessarily that that people advising him understand the reality of the situation, but that's to be expected. Hopefully, I mean, I wouldn't. It would be good for Carolina if he stayed and became a good player at Carolina.
Yeah.
But it's not because of South Carolina's program and Lamont Paris that he didn't do well this year.
No,
I mean at all. I mean, in fact, Carolina still believes in the kid. I mean, it's not. It's just a matter of getting there, right?
Yeah, I mean, anyway, you gotta put in the work, man. Yeah, and if you realize you need to put in the work and you don't put in the work, then that's on you. And if you realize you do need to put in the work and you are putting in the work and just not getting there, then then there's a different discussion.
Exactly. So Eli Ellis coming in. I think people will enjoy watching him play. The other commits. This is a top 25 class. I don't know what that means anymore in basketball, but it's number 24 in the country. EJ Walker. 6'8", 230-pound power forward from Kentucky. Where is Ehringer, Kentucky, Phil?
Ehringer,
Erianger, Kentucky. Anyway, EJ's a good player. Carolina beat Wisconsin on him straight up. Good player, high 3-star, number 201 nationally. Kind of a sleeper guy in Grant Polk. He's from St. Albans in D.C. Outside shooter, 6'7", small forward guard, and then Hayden Assemian, a South Carolina native, who is now at Monrovia and Prep and Hickory.
Oh, it's like right at the tip.
220.
It's a suburb of Cincinnati.
Oh, so it's Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's why. That's why he had some Big Ten interest right across the border there. It's where Darren Horn's coaching now in Northern Kentucky University, home of the Fighting Norse. Whatever.
Good for Darren.
You got 4 coming in. The 2 Finnish kids, Federico and Ugasuk. I think they'll be back. My understanding, folks, is international players can't get NIL money. That's true to a certain extent as well, because there were some issues, or they have to jump through some hoops. It has to be different because of
well, it's because of their visa status, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
So it's so kind of their freebies, I guess. So I mean, those guys are good to be on the roster. I mean, when you're talking about 15 spots, in my opinion, man, I wouldn't mind seeing them get a little more. And then Jordan Butler, I think Jordan's got such upside. I don't have a problem keeping him, but he's obviously there's some things he's got to get a lot better at.
I mean, if
playing
you're
like
using him as if you're using him as a 7-footer who can shoot from outside the arc, then good. But he has shown that he's got some weaknesses when it comes to being 7 feet tall and playing in the post.
Got to hit the weight room, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Got to
Yeah,
get stronger hands. I mean, in the tournament, he's in there. He's trying. He's playing his best. The ball just goes right through his hands. I'm like, dude, you're 7 feet tall.
I know. Got
You
the
know,
gift.
and the queen of the Cocks in the Nana Sports chat box is defense. Yes. I mean, nobody played defense. Zach Davis doubled his turnovers this past year. There were so many guys that got worse.
Yeah, there was a lot of regression individually on this team. I
think
not
a
sure.
lot of guys. Well, I'll tell you one thing that happened. All these guys were getting paid a whole lot more than they were the previous year. That's one. Nobody else talk about that.
Yeah.
But
the team wasn't as hungry. Right.
I didn't think they were that hungry at all. And I was worried from the beginning when they interviewed him, like, last year was good, but we're going to do our own thing. And then that first game where you saw these guys just didn't want it. They decided they didn't want to play that night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when they wanted to play and they played smart, by the time they got into some actual games that could have helped them, like Auburn and Florida, they were so I guess geeked out at crunch time, and they did more dumb things like not give the ball to Colin Murray Boyles or not get him,
Right.
I mean, somebody selfishly would take a shot or try to make a stupid pass or something. It was just a disaster, especially when it came to winning games. But I mean, so that's number one about that part of it. And people may be, well, JC, they're going to go pay out NIL for new players and stuff. Yes, but there's a difference between guys that, went from we have to work for everything we get as a team, and then now we've worked for it and gotten it.
Yeah,
that's it's almost like they got complacent when they had no business getting complacent. So that's the deal, and so that's what happened there. But that's a theory of mine, is that some of these guys individually, they didn't quite work as hard or didn't quite work on the right things, and they had money in the bank, so who cares? Probably more than So there's that. So you got Federico Ugasuk and Butler. Only 3 you can count on being back, plus 4, so that's 7. It's 8 spots right now, most likely on the roster for Lamont to fill through the portal. Now, if Miles Studi gets another year, or if CMB decides he wants to come back, you can see that change. But I think that Carolina is recruiting, going to try to recruit the right kind of players. And I wanted to point this out while Morgan was on the air, and because the fan base, it's a football recruiting mindset still. Also, I keep hearing player development. that's more of a football term, where, I mean, some guys in football even don't develop because they don't want to. Basketball and how you perform during the game is so dependent on you as an individual making the right decisions,
right?
And playing unselfishly. You see, our coaches talk about it all the time. Sometimes I guess quarterbacks may play selfishly in football, but if you're an offensive lineman, you're either blocking the guy in front of you or you're getting your butt kicked, or you don't know what to do and you're screwing it up for everybody else. But I don't know how an O lineman selfishly be selfish. I mean,
well, it's like the physical curve for football is a lot longer than it is for basketball coming out of high school. Now,
and
the mental
so
development,
much.
Yeah. But these teams that make runs that really do well are mentally developed. That's why you see these teams that have guys that have been playing for 3, 4, 5 years are performing better, as a rule, than some of, say, these, younger, more talented teams. Now, there's a point where talent cannot kind of overcome that if you don't have the physical aspect of this game in basketball. But there's a lot. And I think that's one of the things, JC, that kind of drives us all crazy, like year over year, because what we saw out of last year's team was that kind of level of maturity that kind of goes with the winning mentality. What this team was lacking and what was so frustrating at times for the fan base is a lot of these names are the same.
That's the thing.
And they're not performing the same.
A coach can people, the player development's terrible. Well, let me just kind of explain the difference. In football, you don't play a lot of games, right? You don't play the actual sport. It's a gladiator sport. You're repping, you're running drills, you do drills to get better, you work on technique, and a coach is right there taking you every step of the way. Right. And the guys that normally don't develop in football, I mean, you're trying to maximize that talent. And then there's guys that like the coaching and take the coaching. There's guys that don't. The guys that normally don't make it. Right. It's a talent maximization game. In basketball, what are you supposed to do with regards to a player that knows the rules of your offense, that's run your offense before? Your offense and this basketball offenses, in some types of basketball offenses, it's not like you're calling a play and you're like, go here, and this should work. It's based on concepts. If this, if then this, if then. It's like algebra, or logic. Right. And Bobby Knight ran that type of offense. Motion offense is what he called it. I mean, it's based on concepts. So what are you supposed to do as a coach besides bench a kid, put him on the bench? What were you supposed to do in the off season to make sure that in the game, he would make the right decisions, not take stupid shots and all that good stuff? What are you supposed to do to develop that? You can't. What you do is you develop players like, okay, get them stronger. Get them faster, work on their shot, work on their fundamentals, all that good stuff. And Lamont Paris, what is he supposed to do if a guy turns it over and over and over again? Where's this great development that's supposed to take place?
Yeah.
It's a different sport. People got to get off of that. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's up to the players. Now, what you can do in basketball is you can recruit your way out of it pretty quick.
Yeah,
in one cycle, listen, and at some point, if every guy you bring in won't listen, then there's a communication problem, and it is coaching. But when you have players that have done it the year before and done it well, and then they come back the next year and they've arrived, it's kind of like Major League 2 before they turn it around. Remember Major League 2? Rick Vaughn, he was great the year before and all that good stuff. And then he comes in and he's got this agent all of a sudden, and he's doing commercials and they're doing the kahunas. He's like, Serrano has found peace all of a sudden. He's like, no more Jabu. I am a very peaceful man. And Dorn activates himself. I mean, it's a poop show.
Yeah.
And it was because they couldn't handle success. And I think that was a big problem with a lot of players on this basketball team this year. But I'll tell you this, even though besides that, Colin Murray Boyles got better year over year, didn't he?
Right. I mean, you could definitely see an improvement year over year from his freshman to sophomore season. But then the problem with that is you offset that with, Zach Davis is the first one that comes to mind. Because if you want to, if there were one player, I think, who took the biggest step back year over year,
doubled his turnovers.
Yeah, you double your turnovers.
And he had a bad problem with turnovers already.
Yeah, and your defensive output is nowhere near what it was the year prior. Like that 1-3-1 that they ran with him up at the top of the key it was beautiful in 23-24. They put it in this season and it would get burned up. Like
Terrible.
It was not nearly as effective. It's not just because teams were they might go to this. It was that the guy at the top wasn't playing with the same intensity and effort as he was the year prior when he was successful at it.
And then you're expecting Cam Scott to come in. And look, I don't think Lamont Paris is a crazy glue sniffer and a liar.
Yeah.
There's nothing about him that says he's anything but honest. And he comes out and says, I'd be surprised if Cam wasn't all freshman SEC. Okay, so where was that disconnect? What happened? Well, he just decided he wasn't going to. I mean, and this is the other thing about basketball and then baseball to a lesser extent too. We all have to understand. Those sports are not what they used to be. Those sports, AAU and travel baseball, have eroded the guts in a lot of ways of those sports. That's why in the NCAA tournament, Phil, you see these older teams that know how to ball are advancing, and the diaper dandies, baby, unbelievable. They're not going anywhere.
No.
Right?
No.
That's why, let me just point this out too. There's 15 players on the all-SEC team, first, second, third team, right? 6 of those are transfers from mid-majors.
Yeah.
3 are transfers from high majors. That's 9 transfers. And the high majors, that one kid, Mitchell, went to Duke. The other ones were from Virginia Tech and one other one. Oklahoma was the other one, the kid at Kentucky that came from Oklahoma. So you're not talking about everybody coming from Duke. Of the players that were freshmen, that came in as freshmen, there were 5 that made the all-SEC team. Only 2. One of them was a 5-star. That was Trey Johnson at Texas. The others were like 3, like Ziegler, like I said, 5'9" guy out of New York, tough as nails, all SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine pointed it out the other day that, in AAU basketball, you play tournaments all the time. You don't ever see anybody like crying after they lose a game in the tournament. No. You don't ever see anybody upset because they lost a game or missed a shot. Unlike high school basketball, where you do see that emotion and that fire. In baseball, they play so many games and spend so much money doing it. That's the thing about college baseball too, Phil. And I got a text from a friend of mine when, I personally, I'm not a big fan of all this showmanship in college baseball at all. Why don't you leave that to the softball teams? Because that's what they do. They do little cheers. They do. I mean, it's not a good look at all for the sport in general, right? But the softball teams always have done little cheers from the dugout and stuff, and that's fine. Softball's fine. Do it. But baseball, you don't need to be like every time you strike somebody out acting like it's game 6 of the freaking World Series.
Yeah.
What happened to doing your job? Stop flipping bats. Stop acting like jerks. You know why? Because they've been doing it in travel ball all these years, and mommy and daddy have paid all this money for them to go play and compete and sacrifice and travel all over the place. They're just living high on the hog.
Yeah.
Right.
They're
not
the life.
Not that they're living high on the hog. Some families actually have to sacrifice to do it. I'm not coming down on travel baseball parents. I'm just saying, does that really make your son tough? Does that make him tough enough to go handle things like college baseball and the minors and the pros? Is that really what we're doing here? I mean, maybe not. But I know this: if I'm paying money for my kid to go play travel baseball, Phil, I don't necessarily want that whoever that volunteer coach is for travel baseball instilling toughness in my son, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's probably a real hands-off kind of thing, right? It's probably a real hands-off kind of thing. And now you look at college baseball, and there's nothing but like punk behavior. I'm not saying all travel baseball teams are punk. I'm just saying, there's something to be said for like the old school days in this sport.
Yeah.
Before everybody was like, oh, my arm's intentionally getting surgery for, it's not intentionally, but oh God, well, trying to throw 99 miles. Where's the art in it? And I tell you, it's going to hurt the sport as far as being the national pastime moving forward, because baseball is an artistic game in a lot of ways. What do? We paint the corners. When we pitch, we paint the corners. That kind of the beauty of the game has lost something. And I'm not saying that just Carolina's struggling. I've been feeling this way for a while, really since the Tanner era, and a couple Holbrook's teams had really tough guys, and then you started getting all these guys in that were very highly touted recruits, and they're just a little bit less tough, a little bit less resilient. It's gone on and on and on. Occasionally you get a guy like Petrie and a guy like Messina, and I'm not calling anybody on the roster right now out.
No.
But you can't tell me that when you watch SEC baseball nowadays, you cannot look at it and say, man, that's a bunch of tough guys on that team.
Yeah.
You can't. And that worries me about the sport. And then you throw in all the showmanship and like, all right, I struck somebody out in the fourth inning and got out of a jam. And I look like, I make this face, the O face, the war face, like from Full Metal Jacket. Show me your war face.
Show me your war face.
Don't make your freaking it's the fourth inning. You're still down 5 runs.
Right. I don't need to see you flexing on second after you hit a double into the gap with nobody on, 2 outs, and you went over in the first 6 innings. I don't need to see that.
I'm not saying there's not softness in football these days either with
it's
7-on-7 and some of the stuff that doesn't
there's
matter.
A lot of that, but you know what? You're never like 7-on-7 will never be enough for producing talent because trenches, right. Yeah. And but there is no trenches in baseball. So these kids are soft because they're going to these rec league complexes that they play this amateur baseball on is better than some high school fields. Like they're coddled and they play in these manicured, tightly controlled hospital-like settings almost, and the only thing they get used to is playing in a different place week to week. They do not have to put up with a 9-inning grind because it's not like the game has changed.
It's like a career it's like a job, like an internship rather than a sport. They don't care who wins.
No,
nobody gives. I mean, half the kids are like, man, I hope we don't win this game. I'm ready to go home. It's June.
Yeah, right.
I want to go to the beach.
If we play tomorrow, we're gonna have to play at 7 at night as the first pitch. Let's just go home.
As we all know, I didn't play past 6th grade when I had 6 dingers for the Dodgers. Back then, it was called the Dodgers, right? But I watched my brothers play. My brother Jason, it's 149 pounds of nothing soaking wet. Right? Not big boned like me.
Right.
I hate him for that. But anyway, he's the pilot now. That dude was a catcher. And I remember they had a rain out, so they had a doubleheader. They weren't just playing a doubleheader for the hell of it. They had a rain out, so they had a doubleheader. It's 99 degrees in South Carolina. My man catches every inning. The game goes to 9 innings. He played 6 in Little League at that time. So it goes to 9. He throws out a runner in the 9th inning. His team wins. Comes back and pitches the next game. Had dirt and guts just pouring out of him.
Right.
That taught him more about winning, I would think, than playing in the hospital environment like your thought. And I'm griping, and it's not coming back. I am actually. I'd be better off going out and yelling at the 45-mile-per-hour wind outside today, which I could do without today, by the way, because I'm in a little bit of a mood. It'd be warm if it weren't for the damn wind.
Right.
I'd be better off yelling at the wind and have better odds of the wind stopping on my command that's stopping this. I'm just sitting there saying, you know, when you loop it back to South Carolina, the toughness of this program is gone. I'm not saying all these guys are not tough. I'm not questioning them, but I just think it's the sport. And so then it just comes down to who's better, you know, just raw talent. You know, you're not going to overcome it with grit and toughness because there's not a lot of that in the sport. Yeah, and that's what built this program into a championship level program. Ray Tanner never had the most talented team. He had players, but they weren't the most talented team. Look at when they played Virginia and Florida, teams like that had more first rounders, and they out-toughed them. UCLA, you know, I just it's disappointing because I just don't know that you can build a baseball program the way that Tanner did when he won the championships here anymore because of the sport. And the same's true in basketball.
Yeah,
I do think you can put together a tough group in basketball, but you have to make sure they have skill too. You know, and it's a hard puzzle to put together.
Yeah, that goes like really hard on like being able to identify and eval high school players who are not McDonald's All-Americans, right? Because you can get these guys on the bench and have them in your program for 2-3 years as they continue to develop the mental side of that game and their physical side of that game. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a level of grit and toughness that's just not there anymore in baseball, and it's not just Carolina. This is not, you know,
no, I'm not going down these players.
South Carolina, I mean, it is everywhere. And yeah, I mean, I'm okay with a little bit of enjoying yourself and having a good time. I'm all about that. But then, you know, and I'm not just some stick in the mud traditionalist that says you need to just go through and don't say crap.
No, but like I said, listen, if it's the fourth inning and you're down 5, don't make the clench your fist like you just.
There's no need to strike a Hulk Hogan pose if you're down 6 runs and you just, you know, solo doubled with nobody on.
Yeah, some bad. While we're just having, it's just a great positive news Monday here. Bruin mentions Rodney Dunham to Notre Dame. Yeah, Hale put in a crystal ball on our site, Bruin, about 2 hours ago. So I'm not going to I don't want to give credit to anybody else to Notre Dame. Looks like he will commit to Notre Dame. South Carolina's going to keep recruiting him. Just kind of popped up, but we will see. The Queen of the Cocks, and then we'll get to the break. Phil says, ask Florida fans. They have a roster full of these travel ball all-stars, and they have been boo-boo caca in conference play over.
Yeah.
A&M. Look at A&M.
Same thing. Like these kids. Yeah. It's the reason why it's hit or miss in the Calipari vein of coaching basketball, right?
So AAU basketball,
you never know.
Baseball, you are so used to fake competition, to simulated competition, and to a lesser extent, 7-on-7 is that way too in football. But at some point in football, Phil, you got to put the pads on and go play.
Right.
And it exposes
right.
You.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
But these simulated baseball games and basketball games and the poor coaching they get and the bad habits they develop, I mean, it makes for and I think baseball is coming to a head now. I think basketball, there's ways to work around it to a certain extent, but baseball, I mean, the whole sport's that way. You just better get the most talented guys because that's all. I mean, that's how you're going to win allegedly. So we'll see. My point to say all that is I think that the days of the way Tanner built the program with guts. Hey, if there's a coach out there that can do that at South Carolina again, great. If Paul Maneri can do it, great. But I don't see it. It's just
well, you got to think the coach has the makeup. The current coach has that kind of makeup, right? That he can instill grit and determination into a roster, but how open are these kids going to be to that?
I don't know, and I don't know that they're not. I mean, there's a lot of good kids on this team. A lot of kids that are tough. I mean, I've met them. I know them.
Yeah, loyal, committed. Like seriously,
I'm not coming down on them.
No.
It's part of the culture of the sport now. And Carolina's guys aren't sitting there balling up their fist. They do, what are they, cool? They do some kind of cool thing when somebody comes up at bat, but it's
more subdued this year than it was last year.
Yeah, that stuff's fine, right? But you're down 5 and you strike out somebody to get out of a jam, walk off the field like a businessman.
Just walk off the field.
And other teams do it too. I mean, Clemson was just
they were obnoxious.
Nut job level.
I mean, and that's fine. Whatever. I'm kind of like you. I like to see it a bit more buttoned up, not necessarily stuffed up or anything.
If you expend all that emotion during a 56 game season and you do get to Omaha, why is everybody supposed to be excited when you strike out and get out of a jam in Omaha? Yeah, you've been acting like jumping all over the place all year, beating your chest. What's different about now? I mean, come on, man.
Right, I know.
All right, we got to get to our final break. I want to remind everybody that my good friend Brandon has really sweet high-end belts and golf towels and tees and all the stuff you need to get ready for golf season at Palmetto Golf and Belts. Go to palmettogolfing.com. Order some of his great stuff today. Gamecock owned and operated. There's all kinds of things right there on Palmetto Golf and Belts. We'll be back to wrap things up on a fiery edition of the show on a Monday.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up a screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer. Turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right, you know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell them Mike sent you.
You don't have to be Scottish to enjoy South Carolina's most unique family festival, a celebration of Celtic culture. Hearten Days South, built by Culpeper Wood. Experience adventure, Highland games, music, dancing, animals, crafts, rides, a car show, and a parade. Kick off your weekend with a Celtic concert on Friday and a full day of affordable fun and festivities on Saturday at the historic Columbia Speedway. April 3rd through 5th. Get your tickets and more information at tartandaysouth.com. Your first visit won't be your last.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Final segment of the show for a Monday afternoon. Got us all riled up coming out of the weekend. Hopefully we can stir some of your passions inside you as well as we wrap things up. Anything of note coming out of the football coordinator availabilities yet, JC, that you see? Or
I have not looked, believe me, I haven't even been looking at it.
I haven't
I guess
either.
about an hour and 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything come
So-
across Twitter. So if it is, there's nothing, startling. No startling news coming out of this. But yeah,
I just, for the love of I'm not trying to come down on anybody, like I said.
no, it just there's certain things that I don't know. You want to see, right? I mean, while we do try to be as objective as possible, and we're not going to be, out here just firing coaches and taking scholarships away from guys, like irrational fans. Still, and I get it. Like the narrative is, and it was at least at LSU under Coach Maneri that his teams continue to grow and develop as the season wears on. And you're hoping that that's going to happen here at Carolina with a couple of guys. You can already see here we are about halfway through the season that some of them are a lot better now than they were on day one. And you got a couple of really good freshmen who are coming on. I mean, the Scobie kid at third, I don't think he could have asked for a better player. I mean, he's better than any third baseman I can recall here in quite a few years. And he's a freshman. And Hollins looks good at first, right? So you got some hope there. Obviously, Petrie is on his final year here at Carolina just because he's going to go to the MLB, as he should. And you got to hope you can win over some guys in the portal to come here. Going to need some arms and replace some staff and hopefully kind of turn things around. But I'm not throwing the 2024 season out yet.
Nah, I think it can still
or 25. Yeah.
2025.
Yeah, that's
it's crazy. Basically, the only like news from the coordinators, according to the updates, is kind of like we expected. Jelani Kilgore's at nickel.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I expect that. I mean, look, man, they got burnt 2023. That defense was giving up a lot of passing yards down the field until they put Kilgore at nickel and they solidified things and went to the 3-man front. I'm like this, that, Kilgore had such a good year there. I would, it's hard to replace Nick Emanware, but if you switch Kilgore back there where, I don't know that he was completely comfortable when he played back there in 2023. And then, you're looking for a nickel and you take a step back at safety. It's probably easier just to find a safety. I don't know who that safety will be. David Bucci has a chance. Bucci has a chance back there. KJ, is it Kendall Daniels? KJ Daniels. Kendall Daniels, true freshman, could see some snaps back there. Be curious to see how that all works out. And he may not leave it like that. Kilgore's at nickel for now, so we'll see sort of the competition is going to be really good. I think also Mike Shula was talking, kind of got something in my eye, about communication. Good quote from him. We want Lenore Sellers to run because he wants to run, not because he has to run. So
nice. Yeah.
That's the deal there. Yeah. In other words, protect him. So
yeah, right. We're going to have to give him another second or two.
He also mentioned, he was like, we don't want him not to run. I mean, that's kind of the thing there.
Yeah, that would be dumb.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people got that confused when it came to the bowl game. They thought he had been coached not to run, or nobody's sitting there saying, "I'm sorry, I don't know what's in my eye." Nobody's sitting there saying, "Don't run under any circumstance." That's not a play. Everybody says play call it in the bowl. That's not a play call. That's a quarterback not deciding intentionally not to run. Now, did Lenore Sellers overcompensate a little bit by maybe giving, went from not giving the play long enough to giving it too long? Yes, a lot of young quarterbacks do that. But they're trying to find the sweet spot with him. He has to find the sweet spot himself next year. That has nothing to do with play calling at all.
Yeah.
Nobody calls the play like, X45 Stingray sweep pass on 2. Hopefully the play call is not that damn long. Marcus Satterfield's not here anymore, right?
That was about,
that was about dumb. And then they go don't run under any circumstances. That doesn't happen, especially with Lenore Sellers. So that's the deal there.
No, and I mean, I don't know. The thing that killed me about some of the bowl game analysis was I was like, y'all, this guy, this is his first year starter. He's a first year starter. I know what we have seen out of him is freakish athletics and talent and ability, but this is a guy still learning the position, right?
Yep.
I mean, talk about development, and I know he's already ahead of the game because he's got all the physical traits that you're looking for in the new age quarterback, right? Yep. But it's still going to take time for the game to slow down for him even further than it already has. And you hope that, some of the great plays that we saw last year that were purely his freakish talent alone are not necessarily made out of desperation because he has to. And like Shula said, we're hoping that he wants to run and not because he has to.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes you have to. It's just it's unrealistic to think he's never going to run because he has to.
No, and the good thing is we've seen, hey, he's got like killer instincts when that happens to be the case, right? Like he can turn nothing into something in a heartbeat.
Yes, exactly. And that's always good. That's always good. All right, Phil, I got to go get something out of my eye.
Got something in your eye? Yeah, we can kind of wrap things up here.
I hate to end 2 shows early, but
well, this one's only about 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes, not a big deal. I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you're logged on to thebigspur.com. Arden Conyers now is officially in the transfer portal. So
I hate that. I thought he had some real potential, but
well, we'll see what he does moving forward. He may, it's just not going to be at South Carolina. So we'll see what happens there. Be sure to like I said, log on to thebigspur.com. Whittle and I should have news, especially Whittle, moving forward with this basketball transfer portal period. I'll be back in the morning with coffee. And then tomorrow, we'll keep rocking and rolling here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. John Strickland in on the morning show. That's always great, talking ball. And we'll look forward to it then. All right. See you later.
Everybody. Enjoy your day off, everybody. Night off, nothing to watch. So have some time with the family and eat a good dinner. But we'll see y'all tomorrow. Go Cox.